Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, race fans alike, and welcome to the MotorMotion E-Series Track Racer sponsored TCR Cup. And we are back for round 4 out of 7 total, and we have moved all the way back to Europe from the Americas, and we are here at Catalunya, the lovely, lovely Spanish destination that we all love and know quite well. And it's going to be a fantastic race evening tonight with the Audi TT cars. The teams are all ready to go. It's a sunny, sunny day here down on the ground. Dry conditions all around, nice and warm. Tires will be getting pretty burnt up on the track, I suspect, but we are here for 36 laps with a mandatory soft tire for round 4 of the TCR Cup. And in the commentary box tonight, you do have myself, George Cooke, and the legendary Nick Pautasso, and we are going to be bringing you all the action live from the ground as we watch these fantastic cars, drivers, and teams battle it out for 36 laps at this fantastic location, introduced in Gran Turismo Sport as part of update 1.29 and released in that game 2018, I believe. The circuit, built in 1991, began to host the Spanish Grand Prix, which we have had just in recent days as well. The Formula One, of course, going to Catalonia recently, and a shame that Alonso and Sainz didn't get a better result, but it is what it is, isn't it, Nick?
Absolutely, yes. Good evening to you, George. Good evening, everyone, here on the MotorMotion E-Series YouTube channel. And it's a very hot summer day here in Spain, and we're looking forward to seeing our TCR Audi TTs negotiating the track around here. But as we see in the background right there, that whole section we are actually going to be skipping part of. So the entire Sector 1 of this circuit will be totally skipped out. The drivers don't have to negotiate the long, boring, long radius corner of turn 3 and then going into turn 4. So they will only get themselves onto that pit straight, and then just over there, a little bit of a touch in the background there, you will see what is the new turn 1, a harsh, sharp right corner, negotiating around just over 180 degrees essentially, so radius between turns 1 and between the entry and exit of turn 1. So very interesting to see this layout here at MotorMotions. But yep, we are here, George. It is round 4 of 7, and yeah, I'm very excited to get this race underway. Yeah,
absolutely, and we will do absolutely get this race started soon. The stewards are giving us the green flag, so the guys are out on track. They're doing their qualifying at the moment. We'll bring you the grid walk momentarily. We have a few little bits of information to run through before we do, and as you said, this is a unique layout of the Catalunya circuit. 10 turns, 3 kilometers only. I think it's usually something like 3.9 or even 4.2 kilometers, Nick.
Yeah, so we look, so the whole circuit is about 4.3, and obviously 4.2 with the exclusion of the lazy chicane that I like to call here at Catalunya, as they've actually extended that by running the no chicane the last time out in the 2023 Formula One Championship. And very surprising enough, we didn't really see too many cars go flat out around that final corner there as much as I'd hoped for. Maybe if we had the old specs of the 2020-2021 Formula One cars, they definitely would have been putting that section entirely flat out with its immense downforce that the cars have. But these TT cars, what is downforce in these TT cars, George? There's no such thing.
I don't think it exists. No, there is no such thing as air or oxygen or anything like that with these cars. It was interesting, as you said, actually, to see the Formula One cars lifting through that section, despite all the modern aero that they have. But no, you're right. The tires will be taking a brutalizing here. The aero is non-existent in these TT cars, but nonetheless, these Audi TT Cup 2016 cars have been putting on a fantastic show for us in both Division 1 and Division 2, and we're going to begin by looking at the team standings and where things have ended up. So we will jump over to some info screens and start giving you some updates on where we're at, and then we'll be getting going with our coverage of Division 1. So, Nick, let's get into it.
Absolutely. So it was an amazing race last time out at Laguna Seca with the Division 1 boys putting on a great show. Unfortunately, with the Gran Turismo 7 not letting us upload races that go over an hour and a half, unfortunately. So we couldn't broadcast any of the Division 2 races, but we'll be bringing those Division 2 results to you very shortly. But as you said, the team's title is looking pretty up here at the Cooke driver development with Andrew Scott and Mick Hill, comfortably ahead, almost 100 points clear of CP Motorsports' Dean Vandersen and Stephen Harrison, who's been doing a really good job in Division 2. And then the surprise package, the big news with Bundaberg Red Racing is Mitchell Cullen signing Mark Pacheco, joining him and forcing an alignment and to really kickstart their team's championship campaign, as they had Cullen scoring all of the points. But now he's got Pacheco in the team in Division 1, and they'll be hoping to look to score some big points tonight here at Catalunya. And then Mad Turtle Racing closely followed behind by Diffusion, Race Engineering and Track Stars Racing, as well as Roadsick, who had a great result last time out with Glenn Mead, filling in the voids of Peter McKenzie in Division 1.
Yeah, then we've got an 8th spot, Robbo Sport Racing. That's Ian Ward and Sean Parker, Queensland-based team on 144 points. And Juice Motorsport behind them, not too far behind, I should say. And then Strike Racetech, Shane Attard and Troy Britnell, the Queensland-based team also, but in 10th spot at the moment. Behind them, ISA Esports, and bringing up the rear, it is Ned Racing and Extreme Motorsports. And I think, Nick, the big story at the moment, as you said, is Bundaberg Red Racing, because Colin has been pulling that team along like a tugboat to a wrecked container ship. And now with Pacheco in there as well, they're on 191 points. They're, 107 points behind Cooke driver development, but we know how good those two are. I think it's going to be a really interesting race, for the last 4 races in this season, to see how Bundaberg go, because they have pulled in so many points already to be up in the top 3 of the championship. And now to add Pacheco in Div 1, that is going to be very, very cool for them.
100%, and Pacheco's been showing some great performances. I saw a glimpse of performance last time at Laguna Seca, finishing inside the top 10, which is a very strong result for Pacheco and his brand new team in Bundaberg Red Racing. But he's got themselves a heated lineup right behind them, only 1 point behind Mad Turtle Racing with Robert Foster and Greg Hamilton, which he will not be partaking in Division 2, as we'll get to that Division 2 coverage very shortly. But even so, right behind, you've got the Fusion Track Stars. Between 2nd and 6th is only 20 points. And, 20 points in a race in both divisions is nothing, George.
That's right. And what we do like is a bit of spiciness in the team's title and the Drivers' Championship as we go into a very spicy location, which is Catalunya. Of course, they do like their spicy food, and apologies for the stereotype for anyone from Spain watching. But nonetheless, let's take a look now at the Drivers' Championship and see where things are at in Division 1. And this does begin our Division 1 coverage tonight. So we will be going through the grid momentarily and then directly into the race. So our driver championship leader at the moment in Division 1, it is none other than the Cooke driver development driver, Ando Scott, on 180 points, followed by Dean van der Zandt. Now, a note on Dean, he's unfortunately unable to race today, so he will be replaced by Jay Green, and he'll be driving as the reserve driver for CP Motorsports today.
Absolutely. So I'll be interested to see how Jay Green joins us in the CP Motorsports, but you definitely can tell that it's clean points for Andrew Scott up in first place for the Cooke Drive Development. 180 points, 3 out of 3 races, victories in this season. And George, has just been absolutely incredible. But the guy in 3rd place, Robert Foster, who definitely has been showing some great performances in these qualifying pace, but when it comes to race pace, he does struggle a little bit in that Mad Turtle Racing Audi TT. And closely behind is Tyler Lansdale from Track Stars Racing. And then the star surprise was Scott Taylor last time out at Laguna Seca, George, and he's sitting up into P5 from where we applauded him from going right down from outside the top 10 last time and catapulting himself up into 5th place, and that's because of those double points that he scored last time out.
Yeah, he was down at like 35 points or something thereabouts, so he's almost doubled his score in one race, which is brilliant for him. And, as a privateer driver, we know how much extra work goes into preparing, getting yourself sorted out, getting to the track, getting your qualifying times down. To manage all of that with a small team around him, that is very, very impressive, especially in Div 1. Because we know how good these drivers are in Div 1. So, yeah, big shout out there for Scott Taylor. He's been doing a brilliant job. Then moving down the board, we've got Matthew Joinson on 69 points, bit of a magic number for Juice Motorsport. And we've got Cooper for ISA Esports. So he's not doing too bad for ISA Esports there. The team titles doesn't reflect it as much, but nonetheless, he's doing pretty well, staying well within the top 10. And then we've got Ian Ward. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's Ian, is it?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
always see the I and think something else, but it is what it is. And then in ninth spot, we've got Shane Attard for Strike Race Tech, followed by Mackenzie in P10, and we'll cover the rest of the drivers as we go through the grid walk. And I think we're going to move on to that immediately and see where everyone's qualified, because I hear from the stewards that we are done now with qualifying. So let's jump over to the results for qualifying and walk everyone through the grid.
So it was a very intense 15 minutes out here at Catalunya for round 4 of the TCR Cup Championship with our Audi TT Group 4 One Make Series. And surprisingly enough, it is actually going to be Andrew Scott taking pole position away for Robert Foster, which I recall was only less than a tenth of a second between the two drivers. So very, very close margins there. Robert Foster, unfortunately, not able to get his third pole position this season, so he misses out to Andrew Scott. And then we have the debutant in green in third place, ahead of Tyler Lansdell in fourth. So the top four cars that we usually see in Division 1 are still occupying the top fours, but the big name is that the substitute driver in green is filling the voids for Dean Vanderset and doing a great job.
Yeah, I mean, Dean, we know he's usually well up the grid, and he's a very, very fast guy, and a bit of a tire whisperer in some ways as well. Maybe not necessarily as on the level of Andrew Scott, but still nonetheless one of the top guys on the grid. So to see his replacement come in and do that is not only incredibly impressive, but he'll be very, very happy that the team is going to be maximizing points from this qualifying session in terms of his race, in terms of his race start position, I should say, because we don't know exactly where he's going to finish on the grid at the end of this race. So moving along.
Absolutely right. So Lansdale in fourth, and then we have the return of Naki Nax back in fifth place, where he was actually a non-starter last time at Laguna Seca. So that's a good way to redeem yourself after missing a round, which was a crucial round, the double points round. So he's sitting up in fifth place, and then sixth place, Matthew Johnson for PLE Esports, Juiced Motorsports. Filling in seventh place is Nick Gowes, which I actually believe this is actually his highest qualifying position I've seen all season. We usually see Gow more or less down the rear of the field, and we've been very critical of him being the lap driver. But I mean, he's definitely put some wool over everyone's eyes, putting in a great performance in seventh place, and then right down in eighth place is going to be Glenn Mead in finishing up the top 8.
Good stuff there from Gow, as you said. Then we've got in ninth spot, it is Shane Attard, and he'll be doing his best for Strike Race Tech tonight. He's within the top 10, only just, but he will be there in ninth position, followed by Kane Patton, who we've seen usually a little bit further up the grid, if I'm not mistaken there. 10th spot, not the usual spot for him.
No, he's struggled. He's struggled a lot this season. I guess in his championship standings, it doesn't really reflect much of the pace that we see from Kane Patton. He's a very strong driver, no matter what car he drives. He maybe just hasn't come to grips with his brand new team in Extreme Motorsports. They haven't really got the grips of the Audi TT just yet, compared to what you could say, as for example, that we see with Scott Taylor, who's sitting just behind at 11th place, and then the return of Peter McKenzie for Road Sick Racing just outside in 12th place.
Absolutely. Then in 13th place, it is Bundaberg Red Racing's brand new driver. Well, pretty much brand new. In Pacheco, he's in 13th position. And then we're followed by Aidan Sampson, who is going to be driving today. Just trying to find it on my list here. I think my list is a little bit scuffed. There it is, Diffusion Race Engineering, his usual team. And then finally on the grid in 15th position, it is Kevin Cooper for ISA Esports. So that is going to be your grid result for qualification. Pretty good little grid there. We've got some interesting people up in some interesting positions next, so keen to see how they will do on the start today.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, with the 16th place award from Robo Sport Racing, will not be joining us tonight. And I believe I think it is the news that Glenn Mead was actually the substitute driver for Robo Sport Racing. So just going back from memory through the paperwork, that Glenn Mead is the substitute driver for Ward from RoboSport Racing. But as we are ready to go, that is a grid. That is a grid for us tonight. Sit back and enjoy the action as we get we're about to go green flag racing very shortly.
That's right. Here we go. I've just heard from the stewards, and we are good to go. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and it is lights out. And oh, looks like Rolls has gotten a bit of a penalty at the start there. That is a bad. No, that's not Rolls. That is Mr. Green, I believe. Is it? Hold on. I need to figure this one out because he's dropped back now, and looks like a good start.
That
for
was
everyone
Rolls.
else, though. That was Rolls. Dear.
That was definitely Rolls there. He got just a little bit too eager there, and it's very interesting to see how the cars go through to turn 1. I'm just waiting for that long run down the pit straight, but it just cuts off quickly. So very, very tight, narrow turn 1 there, but it's still Andrew Scott leading the way over Green, who's doing a great job for CP Motorsports, replacing Van der Sant in the car in that CP Motorsports entry. That teal and white entry that these guys have is very, very good looking car. And then we have Lansdale in 3rd place for Track Stars Racing. Nax is hanging on to 4th place, and then we have Friday, PLE Black Friday in Joinson inside the top 5, and then Gow's still doing a good job in the Hankook sponsored Audi TT, holding on to 6th place. And I'm just actually interested to see how these guys actually negotiate this little lazy chicane here. So there's actually interesting that the FIA stewards have not given our boys here in MotorMotions the full layout here, the fast layout there, as we can see in the background with all the bollards there being blocked over. And yeah, unfortunately we're not running that layout, but yeah, Glenn Mead is in the RoboSport Racing, that is confirmed entry. Shane Addard in 9th, and Pacheco running inside the top 10. But just want to look back there, just Foster again. This is something's really strange going on.
Oh, we've got some action at the front there.
Oh, we've seen a bit of an accident there, have we?
That's Peyton, yeah. Yeah, the 23 car has somehow binned it at the first corner. I wonder if he's been pushed off the track slightly by someone else. We will try and find if there's anyone with some damage that could tell us who might have had contact with him. But no, it looks like the 2 losing out at the first lap or so is going to be Rolls for the false grid start, and Peyton, who's crashed at turn 1 on lap 2.
I feel really bad for Foster throughout this season. He's been looking so strong, putting it on the front row, and usually gets the jump over Andrew Scott when it comes to the start sequence. And just unfortunately, I've just mistimed it, unfortunately, with that start. And I think he would have got himself at least a 2 or 3 second penalty there, because that was quite a big jump.
Yeah, it was early. It was very early.
Yeah.
And so you're right, he would have gotten a big penalty. I mean, usually you serve the false grid penalties immediately. I think that's correct, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
And as
so if we look ahead, I did see Lansdale from Track Stars Racing. Looks like he got himself a half second penalty there, so he went offline to serve that penalty, which is actually on the pit straight. So very interesting to location. Usually the normal burning zone is right here, which is what is known as turn 9. On the normal layout is now the turn 3 fast right-hander. So we see a few cars really running wide over that track surface. Actually, we saw Verstappen really tickling the white lines throughout his dominating race last weekend at the Spanish Grand Prix, and you can definitely see the drivers are really just finding the grips and finding the limits of their Audi TTs, where it's all front-wheel drive cars, and it's really important just to, as we said at the beginning of the coverage, just to really save those tyres.
Yeah, they're going to burn up pretty quickly. I mean, we're already 3 laps in. This is 1/10 or less of the race distance already. And you can see the edge is already gone from the front left. That's going to be pretty painful during the end of their stints, as we do see a little bit of a move there. I think that was that Tyler on Gao?
So Tyler's going defensive on Gao, but looking up ahead, it looks like Johnson's looking for an outside move around Nax. So Nax doing a great job getting his Ned Racer car up into P3. I believe it's car 66 for Ned Racing, and then he's battling car 777 in Matthew Johnson for PLE Esports, Juiced Motorsports. And then right behind there, I just saw all of a sudden there, Scotty's actually moved up a fair few positions. He's up into P5. Last time I saw was P7 going into turn 1. Is now up into P5 going into turn 4. So, I mean, what this man is just—he's just bringing that momentum from America to Spain, and he definitely got his good serving of portions of paella the night before, and he's carb loaded and he's ready to go.
That's right. Yeah, I think he's probably the most improved driver we've seen this season in Division 1. Just going from results that were a little bit further down to now being closer to the top, and the Kmart liveried 33 car there, just doing the paces. And you're right. He said I had a bunch of paella. He was talking about that quite a lot on the grid, telling no one to stand anywhere near him for the next little while, and good on him. I do want to do a little bit of a shout out here for Green, because for not only having a really, really nice livery here, but also look how close he is to Ando.
Yeah, he's keeping Ando very respectfully there, and distance-wise. So we're looking at roughly about 9/10 of a second to a second between these two guys, and he's really keeping Ando honest here. So depending on the tyre wears, as we usually know that Scott is a very good tyre saver around tracks with this nature of tyre wear levels, and this is where his skills are going to really come handy. Unluckily as well that we don't have Van der Zandt, who usually is matches Andrew Scott when it comes to tyre wears. So it would have been a very good duke between those two guys, but yeah, he's keeping them honest going through to the lazy chicane and onto the final part of the lap.
Yeah,
and we just lost out a little bit there on the exit there, so he's going to lose a bit of time going to this pit straight, and you do lose a lot of momentum because the cars are more or less flat around that final corner with these FF cars if you get the turn in right. But yeah, he's just losing a bit of time there. But looking through the tyres as well, we do see Nax has gone for a little bit more on his front left compared to Green, and obviously compared to Joinson. Scotty as well is usually known as highly regarded as a tyre saver as well, sitting up into 5th place, doing a great job from 11th, I believe it was 11th position was GLR Scotty from the starting sequence. So
that is correct.
So fantastic opening phase for GLR Scotty. He's done a fantastic job to get his car up to 5th place and well clear of Lansdale, who those two are having a great battle at Laguna Seca. So sitting up into 7th place. I did see the background there of Robert Foster, still outside the fringes of the top 10, but he's just going to sit patiently and just try and bide his time and just try and negotiate through the traffic as quickly as he can. As Big Bruce the Shark, New Zealand's very own Barry White sitting up in 8th place, and then Pacheco, PJ Mack inside the top 10. Samson as well, really struggling to get his cars to grips, especially in this season. And then I can see Gao has dropped a lot, so something's happened to Gao in the last few laps that he's just dropped so far down the order.
Yeah, I saw him on the pit straight. He had pulled out to the left-hand side of the pit straight. I wonder if he had just been serving a penalty that he'd picked up. It's very easy to go over the white lines here, as many of the drivers will end up finding out through this race. So maybe a little bit of a penalty there picked up by Nick Gao, but he's right down the back of the field now of this battle pack. Everyone got ahead of him. I get the feeling that he's using a lot of tyres.
Yeah, I can see that as well. You can definitely see from his tyres, and if you compared himself to either Foster or Samson or Renegade, or even through Andrew, he's definitely using that front left tyre. So, it could be a case of whether he's a controller driver, or he might be just using his tyres through aggression. I'm not too sure. But the Hankook driver, car 29, sitting in 13th place, unfortunately, after a great qualifier. Probably that's his best qualifying start position that he's had all season, which is great. And then we have Samson losing out of position to his teammate in the Player 1 GT3 Championship in Robert Foster. So he drops the position down to 12th, Foster up into 11th. Renegade from 15th just has made it one position in car 575 for ISA Esports. And then Patton, who just came in to serve his pit stop after getting damage on the pit straight, sitting in 15th and last place, but running on the medium tyres. So I wonder if he's going to go running to the end.
I think they could probably do it.
Stint of tires.
Yeah, I think they can probably do it, Nick. I don't think he's the only one on the grid who's actually decided to go for the medium tires. So as we cycle through the grid again, we will keep an eye, because there's definitely one or two drivers out there who've decided that, let's go for the mediums, let's go long, let's go deep, and then switch onto the soft tires a little bit later in the race. And try and catch out some people with a one-stop strategy. So we were talking earlier about strategy, and as we got to the top, Ando has picked up a 2-second penalty. Oh, where has that come from? Is that a couple of corners he's gone wide on? Has he just fully cut a chicane somewhere?
He just must have just done what Max Verstappen's done, just running over the white lines, unfortunately. So whether he got a penalty coming through here, you know, usually when you trigger this chicane here, the penalty applies after you go around this final corner. So maybe he picked it up cutting the chicane on the previous lap, but we'll wait and see as he's about to serve his 2-second penalty. Will this invite Green to take the lead of this Spanish Grand Prix as he comes flying through on the left-hand side, and he does very comfortably. Green takes the lead on lap 9 of 36 for the Trak Racer Cup, TCR Cup here in Spain for the Spanish Grand Prix at Barcelona. Green for CP Motorsports leading the way over Andrew Scott in second place after serving that 2-second penalty, and that is a big penalty that he served there. He's well back down the order there, and we can see a bit of an awesome battle going on for Joinson, and there's Scotty. He's coming back through. He's going to come for a very nice move through the chicane there and up into 4th place. GLR Scotty, where has this man come from? He's firing on all cylinders here as we see Joinson run really wide on turn 3, the normal turn 9 of the Spanish Grand Prix layout. And my goodness, he's just on a man on form. He's right on the rear wing of Nax in 3rd place as well. And Lansdale doesn't want to lose sight of him because he knows that he's got a rival now to battle him out for the bottom step of the podium.
This is a 6-way battle for 3rd spot right now between Nax, Scotty, Peely, Tyler, and Sir Dids at the moment. And I think actually Bruce the Shark is in this as well. The line of cars here, there's about 10 cars, all within about probably 4 or 5 seconds of each other, all led by Nax at the moment. So look at the moves from here. Peely goes defensive, and will that be able to hold off Sir Dids? We'll see. It looks like he's got ahead. No, he's got ahead into turn 1.
Looks like he served a half-second penalty there. That's why he went to the left then. And Dids almost goes for an inside move there. Tyler leaving the car without chopping the nose off there. And again, it's running the wrong number again. I wonder what's going on with that, Art. He's running the wrong number again. I'll probably have to send him a message, or maybe have to say to him, hey, you know, we don't want to call you Brit now because he's in Division 2. Unless you want to drive in Division 2, fix your car up, my friend.
That's right.
He's thinking about a move there, and he's just got a little bit of a bump there from Joinson, so that's going to invite him to go around the outside of turn 6. He's going to hold it the long way around. He's got a little bit more traction around the outside. You do get a little bit more, and they're still going side by side as they come through to the lazy chicane. Tyler sticks the nose in. This is some great wheel-to-wheel racing between these two boys. Bit of a bump there for Joinson on Lansdale, but Adard has pulled the move off, and he's up into 5th place. What a fantastic overtake that was for Adard, and great racing amongst the two boys. As Joinson, he's just almost lost the backhand of 777, the Juice Motorsports entry, and he was just getting right underneath the rear wing of the Trackstars racer driver in Tyler Lansdale, but he holds off, and Foster's come out of nowhere. There's going to be contact made between, looks like Joinson there, and I believe the other one was Foster. There you go.
Yeah.
A huge, colossal mistake there by
Foster. He just braked super late, went super deep, and took out a couple of cars as well. That is a disaster for Foster. And he was coming back. He was in the fight. He had a chance there to be back in the top 6. But unfortunately, he's now miles down the field. I think the only person behind him now is Peyton. Yeah, and I feel like this is Foster's race that overdone and dusted. I feel like he's either just going to park it up and just maybe call it a day, or he's just going to keep going. But something looks like he's struggling just to get the steering back under control. But yeah, that was very ambitious there by Foster. Unfortunately, it just goes for a move that didn't exist. Maybe got caught out by someone, maybe moving under brakes. We don't know. We don't have the official recordings of what's going on, but we'll see if that gets sent to the stewards room later on at the end of this race. We'll find out very soon. We'll keep you up to date. But as we see, Brucey's sitting up in P9 after all those mistakes there, sitting in P9. We've got Peter McKenzie looking for a move on Pacheco right on the inside. A little bit of a bump on the rear quarters of Pacheco. And Pacheco still holds it around the outside.
got to the inside line, which then goes for the outside, but there Mackenzie takes that move, takes that position away from Pacheco, and Mead's going to come throwing the nose on the inside for RoboSport Racing. That's 2 positions lost in basically 1 corner. He lost it out on the outside on turn, I believe, turn 3 or turn 2.
Yeah, that's right. I think it really shows that you carry the momentum through these first few corners so much, and it leads onto the back straight, right? So if you sort of get pushed a little bit wide or have to take the outside line, you will end up getting taken over by another driver because they're all looking for the inside line. They can follow whoever takes the inside line through the corner, and if they do so, there's an extra position. So everyone's jostling for position right now. It's just crazy.
Absolutely right.
See a couple into the pits now.
So we see Nax and we see Adard in the pit lane right now, about to swap over from their tyres. Look at their tyres, it's absolutely burnt up. But, you know, they're on lap 12 or 36, so there's definitely going to be a 2-stop for these drivers. They're definitely going to be running a 2-stop strategy, maybe try and extend one of their stints out to maybe 13, 14 laps, so then they can have a really fast run towards the finish. But we'll find out very shortly what the go is. But
we sure will. I got to make a note here about Tyler Lansell, though. Started on the medium tyre.
He's on the mediums. Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So yeah, we're just about to go through our grid walk, our grid viewing of who's on the softs and mediums. We just got caught up with so many battle packs. Amazing racing here tonight here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, where we have Green, the debutant, the fill-in for Dean Vandersen, leading the way over Andrew Scott in second, and then GLR Scotty and Scott Taylor third. As those tyres on Green's car's running out, it's running very low, so he's going to go for one more lap before he has to decide to come into the pit lane. He's sitting on 50% on fuel there, so he's just running the car fine on the edge, and maybe just does a little bit of a quick splash. Try and run another stint on a soft tyre, but as we saw there, you've got Green on the softs, you've got Ando and GLR Scotty on the softs, but then, like you said, Tyler Lansdell on the medium tyres and doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, that's brilliant, because he's been involved in a bunch of fighting and overtakes. So he's been overtaking some of the guys who've been on the soft tyre earlier on, gaining positions for Trackstars Racing, and that's very, very impressive considering the medium tyres are going to be, I mean, I'm taking a guess here, but probably around half a second to a second and a half slower per lap. That said, you know, conditions on the track are going to be pretty high temperature, so you might find that the medium tyres are a little bit more performant than you would expect. And certainly they're going to go a long way. 14 laps so far on the mediums for Tyler, and that's going to get him pretty much to lap 28. I mean, I don't think you want to be running them to 28 because you'll be running them on 0, which is not a good idea. But, you know, if you can pull off something like 10 to 12 laps on the soft tyres, that's going to be pretty much optimal for the stint life for a soft tyre before you really start to lose a lot of performance. So, yeah, so we'll continue our way down and just give you the current standings as they are, including tyre updates. So there is Mackenzie there on the racing softs from the beginning on about 51% fuel in 5th place currently, followed by Bruce the Shark. Better tyre life for him, just under 50% fuel. And he's doing very well on the 999 car. And I did just hear someone go off, and it is Matthew Joinson. He's off at turn 1. I wonder if there was contact there, but no damage to his car. So I think it might have been a bit of an honest mistake there on wearing racing softs.
Yeah, very unlucky there for Matthew Joinson, and just getting involved in a few turn 1 incidents, and then unfortunately that was all his own doing. Maybe just gazed away and just saw the car, thought the track was going to keep going straight, but then again there's some barriers there, and you know, lucky for him to pull the handbrake and just say no, you know, just park the car, just like flick the car around and just try not to cause any too many incidents and trying to hit somebody off. But Samson up into 7th place, and unfortunately for Joinson down in 8th place. But like we saw there, we have Glenn Mead and the RoboSport Racing again. This is super sub yet again for RoboSport Racing, substituting for Ian Ward this time out. But he's right behind PJ McKenzie, who, you know, he actually filled the seat in that car 221 last time out at Laguna Seca. So he's seeing a very familiar car right in front of him, and he's going to think about making some advantages and trying to make some moves on his former car that he was running at Laguna Seca.
yeah, I think that'll be a pretty interesting experience for him. And you know, when you do switch team or move around the grid a little bit, you want to continue to improve your performance. So yeah, he'll be looking to continue his push here. But 5th place at the moment for Mackenzie. They're doing very, very well with Bruce the Shark behind him. So yeah, the replacement in Bruce has just been pretty spectacular actually over the last race or so. And especially in the endurance race, he did really, really well. I think was that his debut race? Was it last week? Was it
Yes.
last time out?
Yes, it was. It
Yeah.
was his debut race in the TCR Cup, but he's running a very good racing in the Player 1 GT3 Championship as well, in the Platinum and Gold Championship of the Group A lobby. So he's doing a fantastic job getting that diffusion race engineering BMW M6 up the pointy end of the Gold Championship, and is now keeping his good mate in Peter Mackenzie honest in 5th place. But we might see a few drivers start coming in because the sun is back out, and I was about to make mention with the sun covering up, with the cloud cover covering the whole track, it actually cools the temperatures down a bit, and it actually gives the soft tires a little bit more advantage when it comes to tire life. So they can save a lot of tires when there's a lot of cloud cover, but as soon as that sun comes back out, then the soft tires become absolute nightmares to drive, and that's where Tyler Lansdale was actually gaining on GLR Scotty on those medium tires as there was cloud cover. But now the sun is out, he's going to lose a little bit of time to Scott Taylor in 3rd place. As I've just seen ahead there, we do see a change in the lead. We have Andrew Scott has now taken the lead off Green from CP Motorsports, and you can see, wow, his tires are absolutely gone. So surprised he's actually staying out. I think he's trying to go to lap 18, or at the end of lap 18, just to do a one-stop. That'll be interesting.
I think that's right. And oh, in comes Ando though, and in comes Green. Okay, so both of our leaders at the moment, excuse me for switching the cameras so much, I have to talk to the broadcast team at a later date and tell them to stop doing that. Both of our leaders now into the pits for a fresh set of racing softs, and they will be trying to go to the end. Of course, if you pit at the end of lap 17, you will come out of the pits on lap 18, so they will have about race distance to go. Scotty also coming into the pits, and the medium running Tyler Lansdale in the 888 car will now take the provisional lead of this race. How long that will last, we'll see. He will obviously have a pit stop to do starting on the mediums. There is a mandatory soft tire, so he'll be coming in the next, I'd say probably next 8 to 10 laps to get a change of tires and get out there. But yeah, you're right, Nick. We're seeing a strategy that we didn't necessarily expect starting to evolve, which is the soft tire one stop. And a few of the drivers, and quite a few of them actually, by the number of people who went into the pits this lap, have actually made it all the way to lap 18 on the soft tires, despite the massive amounts of degradation. So I think, yeah, the one stop for softs definitely in play today.
Well, from Mackenzie all the way down to Cooper, from 2nd to 5th place, they're all on the soft tires except for Lansdale. He's the only driver in that field on the medium tires, and he's really making those tires last right up to the end there, because he knows he's going to find some great performance on those soft tires right at the end there. I don't think he's going to be battling it out for the lead of this race, unfortunately. He's a little bit too far back from both Andrew Scott and Green in the CP Motorsports. So we now see Mackenzie coming to the pit lane at the end of lap 18, so he's definitely going for that one-stop strategy on the soft tires, the soft to softs. And then we can see there Joynson really struggling on that front left, as you definitely saw. He was really just getting into the thick of wars there at turn 1. And yeah, you could definitely tell, like, he just used a lot of tire wear. But actually as well, I thought, was actually surprised, Renegade in Kevin Cooper's actually on the medium tires. I would have thought he was on the softs. So another good strategy call there from the ISA Esportsman car 575. Let's wait and see where he pops up at the end of all of this.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either, actually. You're right, the 575 car there, also going for the medium strategy. I mean, it's hard to tell what's going to be optimal. I mean, you don't know when the sun's going to come out. You can see Ando already catching up in the distance there after doing his stop for new soft tires. It's hard to tell because you don't know what the weather's going to be. You don't know when it's going to cloud over. You don't know when you're going to have a cooler track versus a hotter track. The medium strategy would seem to be, in some ways, quite sensible. If you can get to lap 26, you'll have 10 very fast laps on the softs, and you won't notice the degradation on the softs at 10 laps. But at 18 laps, you will be feeling it very much. And we've seen that with Matthew Joynson struggling on his tires, not really able to find the grip towards the end of the stint. And even the guys, our leaders, Ando and Green, they would have been running very relaxed laps to make sure that those tires don't burn up, and Green actually not doing enough to keep his out of the 0 point. So there we go. This is potentially our race leader once we see the 2 medium runners ahead go and do their stops. So Andrew Scott currently in the lead.
Yeah, and also got to keep in mind there, Shane Addard and Nax from Ned Racing, they both came in at lap 12, so that's the reason why the orders have been mixed up. So we have Addard ahead of Green on a little bit more worn soft tyres compared to Green's very fresh rubber from 2 lap younger or 2 lap old position on the previous lap to Nax from Ned Racing. So they're just looking, so Green is just going to bide his time, be patient. Look for him as he drifts the car through to turn 4 there. So it's very surprising you can drift a Audi TT around here, but he's got the slipstream. He's tucked right underneath the rear wing. Goes for the inside move into turn 5. No hesitations whatsoever. Plant the car on the inside, and job done for Green. Sitting up in P4 overall, which could potentially be P2 at the end of the pit lane, at the end of the pit stop sequence. And here comes Lansdale. So he's a little bit earlier this time. 16 laps of soft tyre running. So very interesting strategy here. Bit of maybe a bold one. He's going to try and save those tyres towards the end there, but he's going to be coming in thick and fast on these guys on 3-lap fresh soft tyres.
Yeah, as we know, if you avoid scrubbing the tyres early on in your stint, you can make them last a little bit longer. I think that's part of what some of the top guys who have better tyre management do end up doing. So if you can have some good outlaps that are quick but also very kind to the tires, you can find that they will last a little bit longer, and if you can do that well, then you might be in for a bit of a position jump, so to speak. But yeah, Lansdale will come out, I believe, in about 10th position, so he will have a lot of work to do, but there's a couple of 2-stoppers in front of them, so he might have an opportunity to jump them with his strategy. We'll see. But this little pack here, we've got Nax and Dids there. I'm just trying to get the names correct here. And also then Green ahead, who's falling a little bit behind Ando at the moment. But nonetheless, he will continue to run his strategy. I think he's going to the end now.
Yeah, I think he's just going to run a clean race here. Doesn't need to worry about the guys in Addard and Nax behind, because but he knows that they have to make another pit stop, as they both came in on the end of lap 12, so he won't be too fast with them. And Scott Taylor is well behind in 6th place there. But actually very surprising with Lansdale. So as we see a change of the lead here, so the official lead is going to go, looks like it's going to go towards Ando in car 787 around the outside of turn 1. A bit of contact made between the ISO and the Me Cougar driver, but Ando still holds around the outside and retakes the lead, the official lead of round 4 for the Track Racer TCR Cup. So he takes the lead away. He's going to run that set of tyres towards the end there, and Green's not too far behind. So a little bit of a holding up there has closed the gap between Green and Ando. And maybe unfortunately for him, it's just going to be a little bit too late for Green to find any sort of pace.
Yeah, that's right. And on board now with GLR Scotty. He's doing very well, the privateer in the Kmart liveried TT Cup car. And is on the racing softs. He's going to be going to the end. And at the moment, I think provisionally he might be 3rd position still.
Yeah.
So that's a very good job from him. Qualified in P11.
He just keeps going with his performances. Last time out at Laguna Seca, getting himself a great podium, and then as well, he's on for a podium positioning. But I definitely want to keep my eyes on a few drivers behind him, as we saw Mackenzie and Pacheco not too far behind. So Mackenzie just hanging in the background there in car 221. But also we have to keep our eyes on the man in position 9, Tyler Lansdale, on the freshest of soft tyres. Pacheco looks like he's going to definitely come into the pit lane for one more time, but Lansdale is going to be trying to put in those hot laps as he's coming through to start-finish line. Sets his personal best of a 1:14.2, so a lot quicker than what Pacheco is doing in 8th place. So he'll be the one on those fresh soft tyres to keep our eyes on. He'll be trying to do everything in his power to get anywhere close to both Mackenzie and even potentially Scott Taylor in what could be the last step of the podium.
Yeah, so the battle pack that we had going for 3rd place, which was involving about 6 cars earlier on, all 6 of them were on different strategies, or at least between the 6 of them, 3 different strategies. So we're seeing a bit of a mix-up of that right now. We know that Tyler was doing incredibly well on the mediums in that battle pack and really had a chance for 4th and 3rd position. I think he was in 4th position before he ended up getting the provisional lead of this race and then inevitably going into the pits. So really good job from Tyler so far. I think you're right. We have to keep an eye on him all the way through and really getting close to the back bumper of Pacheco now, as Pacheco's tires, the edge is already gone from them. So this is the time now for Tyler to get past Pacheco and to retake 8th position in this race. And a quick update on the fastest lap so far. It is a 1:13.878. A little bit of an anagram with those numbers going on for Ando, who loves his 787 number. There's the move from Tyler. It'll go into turn 1. Great stuff there, beautiful, clean overtake. And we did just see Renegade come into the pits on the medium tires, so everyone now will be on the soft strategy to the end of the race, or with, well, some of them will be. There's a few who need to pit again.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lansdale makes the move on Pacheco, who's sitting inside the top 8, well clear of Samson, but we'll have to wait and see if he actually comes into the pit lane for one more time there. But as we can see there, Lansdale in P7, you can see in the foreground there was GLR Scotty and Scott Taylor. He's not far behind is Tyler Lansdale, but he has one more road obstacle to pass, which is Peter McKenzie in car 221, who's also, you could say, more or less on a fresh set of soft tyres. I think he came in maybe a lap earlier, or maybe a lap or 2 earlier than Tyler, who's sitting up into P6 and P7 respectively, as we now see the first runners of the 2 stoppers in both Shane Addard and Naki Nax in 3rd and 4th place make their pit stops for the last time here on lap 24, starting lap 25 of 36, that they're going to the end there. So unfortunately, the 2-stopper not working out for these boys tonight. You can just see they're just tumbling down the order, and they also have to put in a full, you could say, more or less half a tank of fuel in these cars, and they're going to be well outside the top 10.
Correct. Yeah, I think we know that the pit lane here is incredibly long. In fact, I can pull up the statistics here. It's an 862-meter pit straight. That's very, very long, but you've also got, remember, the corner just before, turn 11, which is also pretty much flat out. So you've got more or less a kilometer where you are traveling very fast. So when you come into the pits, you lose seriously large amounts of time. And I just don't think it's going to be worth it here. The one stop, whether it's medium soft or soft, definitely seems to be better. So, if you're more comfortable on the mediums, that's going to work out for you. If you're more comfortable on the softs, doing that twice, then that's going to work out for you, as is with the leaders of the race. The top 3 going for the soft strategy. And on board with Nick Gow in the 29 car. He's run wide over at turn 4. It's very easy to do because it is a very fast right-hand corner. But a 0.5 second penalty for him. And he will come in because his tyres are dead.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say it was a good performance there by Nick Gow to get himself back up into the top 8, but he did have to make another pit stop because those tyres were absolutely shot. Matthew Johnson sitting up now. He's going to retake position 8 away from Nick Gow. Then we have Kevin Cooper inside the top 10, and he's run a very good strategy here. He's sitting in 10th, well ahead of both Addard and Nax, who came in for their second pit stop. So he's going right to the end there, as we did see Dids pick up a 2-second penalty, I believe, there, and he just loses a position to Glenn Mead from RoboSport Racing. So that 2-stop strategy is definitely not working for the Strike Race Tech and both Ned Racer drivers respectively, as we see also Nick Gow, who's coming out of the pit lane very shortly. Unfortunately for this guy, the 2-stop is not really working out tonight. As you did say, the pit loss is quite significant around this track, and unfortunately for him, drops down to 13th place, as he's just now coming under lap traffic now between himself and Green. Kane Patton in car 23 sitting in 14th place, and then just unfortunately in 15th, the last place after that. What was an ambitious move going into turn 1. Rolskin Hartley and Robert Foster looks like he's just retired the car in car 270, just a mechanical failure on his end there, and he's just had to park it onto the pit lane and into the garage.
Yeah, we saw him struggling to get away from the incident he had where he missed his braking zone at turn 1, and the car just didn't look like it had any drive in it. So I suspect the transmission and probably the whole front half of the car is pretty much gone at that stage. So he's obviously retired the car, sadly. So sad to see him go, because he was on the top row of the grid, qualified second. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I qualified second in the race, and then got an awful start and just tumbled down the grid, and then a few mistakes. You know, when you're under that kind of pressure of, I need to be up the top of this race because I know how quick I am here, you can find yourself making more and more mistakes, and those will compound and turn into more mistakes, and suddenly you're out of the race with car damage that can't be repaired in the time left. It's a real shame.
Yeah, very unlucky for Robert Foster. His TCR campaign hasn't gone to plan this year in the Audi TT Group 4 front-wheel drive, front-engine drive, 2016 model TT cars. It's very tricky cars to negotiate here, but so far, Andrew Scott looks like he could be potentially be putting on a 4-for-4 tonight if he keeps his car clean, but he can see right in the background there, he's not too far away, is green, so he's doing an impressive job on his debut here. And look at this now, Scott. Look at George. We have called you by the wrong name. So Scott is actually looking, starting to look into his rear view mirror now on Tyler Lansdale. So Lansdale's actually cleared Mackenzie quite swiftly there, and look, and not far behind is Lansdale in 4th place. So on fresh tyres, he's really getting the advantage on GLR Scotty, and he's definitely on for a potential P3 if he can get the move done in the next lap or so.
Yeah, I think he dispatched PJ Mack a couple of laps ago. That 13.977 is a very, very quick time. So,
yeah.
And by the way, if you call me Scott and you're talking about Scotty, I'm quite happy for that comparison, because I'd love to be able to drive the way that GLR Scotty does. He's been performing absolutely brilliantly. But you're right, Tyler is right on the back of him now, and Scotty will start to sweat in that cockpit. He's going to be a bit worried, because I think he knows what's coming. His tyres are, not going to say significantly, but there's about 20% more degradation on that front left than Tyler behind him, who pitted, I think it was something like 5 or 6 laps, maybe more.
Yeah, it was
later?
lap 20. Yeah, lap 20 was when Tyler pitted in, and you can just see just this speed comparisons that they're getting through as we try. Let's see if we can go for a bit of an onboard comparison. He's going through 145 going into turn 4. We'll wait and see what Tyler does on the next lap, what his speed comparisons are. But as he's coming through to here, around about 75 k's going into turn 5, and then he's just really about trying to execute these sequence of corners, because this is where the front left really just screeches, and it's a really loud screech, George. It's deafening when you're going through, when you're turning right in these cars, and you can just see turning left, not an issue, but it's not NASCAR, Scott, so you have to go right around here on the final corner. So
when you see the short chip there on turn on the exit of turn 10, because he knows he's not going to have the traction on the left, as it's under a huge amount of load through that last little bit there. And yeah, as you said, if you're hearing screeching tires, you're thinking, oh, this is bad. Well, actually, when you've got no aero on these cars, which they don't really have a lot of aero, you're kind of, you're relying on that mechanical grip much more than you are the air around you. So in some ways a good sign. At the same time, you're thinking, oh no, I'm burning up the tires.
All right, let's look back at Lansdale as he's coming through to turn 4. This is something I want to really be keeping an eye on. You can see so much more speed. He's at least 5 k's faster than what GLR Scotty could do in the middle of turn 4. So you can definitely see the grip is with Tyler Lansdale and Car AAA for Trackstars Racing, chasing down the privateer. As we do see through the comments as well, Mitchell Collin from the team boss and Bundaberg Raid Racing is saying, how has he not got a team involved? Why is he a privateer driver? Mate, I don't know, because with Scotty at the helm, he's doing a fantastic job. I'm surprised he actually hasn't brought his own team into the series. And we can see a great run through the lazy chicane as Tyler Lansdale is going to make a move with about 6 laps to go of the round 4 of the TCR Cup, as we're on board with Tyler Lansdale trying to go for a move on GLR Scotty, going into turn 1, tucked right underneath the rear wing of that Audi TT car 37. Can he pull the move? Can he make an overtake? It's a light move for Tyler Lansdale into the inside of turn 1. He's going to clear him before they get into turn 2, and that is a brilliant move by Tyler Lansdale and Car AAA up into P3. Well done, Tyler. and getting that car up into third place. Nothing that Scott Taylor could do, and 37 has to sit behind car 888. And what a fantastic move that was, George.
I think there's only one word for that: spectacular. I mean, we've seen some drivers mess that up a little bit earlier in this race, that kind of a move. That was absolutely out of the textbook. Tyler, just brilliant, using the grip that he's got over Scotty, and just showing us exactly what that difference means in the tire life. It's, yeah, like I said, straight out of a textbook. That's how you execute a good dive overtake into a tight corner. And yeah, as you said, nothing that Scotty could have done there at all. He didn't have the grip to slow down. We saw that earlier in the lap when we were on board with Tyler as well. He was just able to brake a lot later, turn in later, get the angle better to get a better exit, and use the grip that he had to put the power down on the track. And here is the result. Tyler now slips up into third position of this race, top 3 position for him. And we will go around the grid and get a little bit of an update from everywhere else. But the top 3 right now: Ando in the 787 car, Green in the 232 car, and then Tyler. He's in the 888 car, numbered at the moment, but that's not his real number, as we know.
Absolutely, but I could definitely see here, Green, as you just look through the, as you were looking through the grid, Green's tyres are absolutely shot, and he's really closed up to Andrew Scott in first place. So Green is catching Ando, but look at his tyres. He's not going to make the next 4 laps around this circuit if he keeps pushing on like that. As you can see there, runs wide on the exit of turn 9, going to turn 10. And he's going to be struggling these next 4 laps here, George. I don't know how he's going to keep that car clean. He's got a good, comfortable margin over Lansdale, so he's not going to come into the pit lane because there's no point, because you're going to lose so much more time. And he's got a good gap over Lansdale in third, so it'll be very, very close. It'll be very tight for Green. He's just going to be praying for those tyres to hold on.
Yeah, I think at this stage he just needs. I mean, he obviously tried to keep up with Ando. Ando's, not doing the fastest laps in the world. He's in the 15s at the moment. Looks like he had a bad lap on lap 30 at 118.7, and Ando's decided to take it a little bit easier. That's what's brought Green back into the fray here, but it's going to be at the expense of Green's tires, sadly, as we were just saying. And yeah, I think at this point Green just needs to consolidate second position, because you don't want to be making a mistake this late in the race. The only thing that'll bring Tyler into contention for a second position finish here is if Green ends up with either a large penalty due to running wide off the white lines, or putting himself in the gravel, which you can very easily do when you've got 0 tires. So Green at the moment, he should just be focusing. And look at Gao. Gao, the notorious blue flag unlapper, is going to try and unlap himself from behind Green, because Green's tires are gone. And I believe Gao's probably got something like 20 or 30% left.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see Gao right underneath the rear wing of the CP Motorsports entry. He's actually looking for a move there. He's putting the car on the right-hand side, and all you can see is a lot later on the brakes on Green there. So I think Green's just literally praying for these tyres to hold on until the end of the lap. Only 3 laps to go, or less than 3 laps to go for Green, just to hold on to these tyres. But you could see there's so much understeer on that car. It's unbelievable. It's just all the right-handers. It's just unbelievably slow for him. You can just see he's just losing time, and even Gao there found so much more time on him. So I wonder if Green's actually going to give this position up to Gao. No, he hasn't yet. So Gao's actually just going to stay behind there.
I mean, you'd be almost silly at the moment to try and fight with a blue flag, and when you know that your tyres are gone, you just need to bring it home. I mean, there's an apex somewhere there, but Green's not been finding them at all because his tyres are not going to allow it to.
No, unfortunately. So Green is just going to have to pray. Oh, just understeer on the left hand, on the right hand. It's just excruciating pain here. So he just wants the agony to end. Yeah. And he's got 2 laps to go, George. And I don't know how far Tyler is. He's going into the to the right-hander section right now before the lazy chicane, and Green is halfway onto the pit straight, so he's definitely sealed P2. But like you said, anything can happen to Green on those set of tires. He can have a mistake. He can run wide. He can go off the circuit. Anything. He could just understeer off the circuit. We just don't know. There's only 2 laps to go, so we'll find out very shortly. But as we run through the grid for the final time, in 4th place, it is Scott Taylor, the privateer in car 37, doing a fantastic job. Unfortunately, losing that position to Lansdale, and then we have Peter McKenzie on his return to the TCR Cup inside the top 5. So that's a great way to mark your return in the MotorMotion TCR Cup. And then 6th place, Aiden Sampson, doing a very good job here. So he was well outside in the qualifying, 14th place, and up into 6th. That was a remarkable recovery drive there by Aiden Sampson for the Fusion Race Engineering. And then in 7th place, we have Matthew Johnson in the thick of wars, you have to say, George, in car 777, and now he's got his car into P7 in car 777. And then you got your 2 pit stoppers in both Shane Addard and Naki Nax in 8th and 9th place, respectively, with Renegade running that medium stint along with Lansdale in 10th place. Then Mark Pacheco in 11th, Glenn Mead in 12th for Robbo Sport Racing. And then we've got Nick Gow, 13th, Kane Patton in 14th, and unfortunately our DNF and retirement is Robert Foster in the Mad Turtle Racing car 270. But we're on the final lap. It is Andrew Scott in car 787. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say anymore, George. Could he go for a clean sweep in the TCR Championship? Could he go 7-7?
I mean, I'm agreed. I'm a little bit at the loss for words because it is entirely possible. Will we see the first time? I think this will be the first time in not only this, obviously this is the first season with the Audi TT Cups, but in previous seasons, to see a driver win potentially the entire season in a landslide. I think, I mean, it could be done. It could be done. Maybe something might change things. I mean, Green we saw very competitive. He will probably be replaced again by Dean van der Zandt as Dean returns to us in the next couple of races. But yeah, at the moment, and across the line he goes. The 787 car, unstoppable at Catalunya, and takes round 4. Congratulations to Andrew Scott. Then followed by the dead tyres running, but freshman of Green. Very good job there. But I think the standout today, yeah, Nick, it's Tyler, right?
It is Tyler. I do have to be biased, unfortunately, but Tyler Lansdale in 3rd place, a recovery drive and a half there. Well done. And even Scott Taylor, you know, I still give him full credits there. He's a man on form right now, GLR Scotty. And then Peter McKenzie inside the top 5. But I would say I will definitely give my hats off there to Green in 2nd place on his debut. A fantastic run there.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen a debutant perform so well to get a top 3 in your first race. We know how tricky these Audi cars are, so to see that has just been super impressive. So we are going to move to our race results now and run you through the entire grid. But that is your Division 1 race, 36 laps of absolute action here at Catalunya. I'm really looking forward to Div 2 now, but let's take a look at the results as they stand now, and congratulations to everyone on the grid, of course. So, wow. After 36 laps on a mix of tyres, mediums and softs, and a big mix of strategies here, Nick, today. It is none other than Andrew Scott for Me Cougar Driver Development, taking home 47 points in the Drivers' Championship and for his team. Followed by the debutant and replacing Dean van der Zandt for CP Motorsports, it is Green, 40 points for him. And then I think the standout, and I think I should leave this one to you, Nick, because he's a man close to you in terms of the league racing. For Track Stars Racing, it is, of course, Tyler Lansdale.
Yeah, absolutely. Done a fantastic job to get that car up into P3, running the alternate strategy compared to everybody else around the field today. Made that work to perfection, fended off from drivers behind him, got the launch that he needed, and he's done himself a fantastic job getting up into P3. And then as we run down through the grid, we've got Scott Taylor in 4th, Peter McKenzie 5th, Aiden Sampson, a great drive for him. And, you know, you can't doubt him out whatsoever. Aiden Sampson from 14th up into 6th place. That's a very worthy drive there for Aiden Sampson.
Yep, that's right. And then Matthew Joynson, who was in contention early on in the race for a 3rd position finish. We did have 6 cars fighting for that 3rd position, that podium position. Unfortunately, losing out a little bit on his strategy and running wide many a time, and actually doing very well to hold on to it when he put it on the gravel. But for Juice Motorsport, he'll take home 18 points today in 7th position overall. Then followed by Shane Attard for Strike Race Tech, 16 points and a top 10 finish. That's definitely worthy of a little bit of celebration. And then 9th position, it is Kevin Cooper for ICE Esports, 14 points for him. And then the Matt Pacheco, his 2nd race here for Bundaberg. No, sorry, this is his 1st race for Bundaberg, is it?
No, second race.
This is
So
his
Mark
second
Pacheco,
race. Yes.
yeah. So Mark Pacheco in 10th place, getting himself a great job there. Naki Nax looks like he made a mistake on that last lap, so it drops from 9th to 11th place, scoring himself 10 points for Ned Racing. And then the substitute driver in Glenmead in 12th place. Unfortunately for Nick Gowd, couldn't capitalise on his P7 in qualifying. Finishes down in 13th place. Kane Patton, unfortunately, his season is just not living up to the expectations for Extreme Motorsports in 14th place. And then our only DNF is Robert Forster, who is your top driver in this division, unfortunately finishing in 15th and last place after what was a horrendous crash at turn 1.
Yeah, I really feel for Robert Foster. Unfortunately, it does happen sometimes, but it's never good regardless. So dropping right down the grid to be a DNF, very unfortunate for him. But yeah, so I think we need to discuss a little bit about the driver of the day today. For me, it's quite a clear standout. I'll leave the first nomination to yourself, and of course everyone who's in the grandstand in the YouTube chat watching for free the MotorMotion E-Series Track Racer TCR Cup. Please do give us your driver of the day nominations for Division 1. And so Nick, over to you while I go and hear from the stewards about any reports that have been made.
Oh, you left him in a tough spot there. I think you might know who I might be going for, but I might surprise you. I'm actually going to surprise everyone. I'm actually going to give this to. I will give this my driver of the day, and we didn't get to see much of him on the stream. I'm actually going to give it to Samson. I'm actually going to give the driver of the day to Aiden Samson, starting 14th position, working his way through all the battle pack, through all the carnage that he saw on that opening stint on the soft tires, soft medium runners. Has come through cleanly, didn't get involved in too many accidents, didn't get involved in too many incidents, and with a smart strategy and with a smart play, finishes up in P6. So it's a great drive there by Samson. That's worthy of a driver of the day from 14th to 6th. I'll be really happy with a race like that.
Yeah, I think that's
on his end there.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. No one else here was able to gain more positions on the day than Aiden Sampson, and I've been thinking about the phrase "never give up, never surrender" recently, Nick, and I think Aiden is the embodiment of that today. I can help you here with a secondary nomination, an honourable mention here for Tyler Lansell, so you can avoid some bias. It's okay. And then, of course, Scott Taylor as well. Both of them putting in some brilliant fights and performances for fighting for that podium position, 3rd spot. And of course, a final honourable mention for Green for CP Motorsports on debut, the freshman, taking home 2nd position. It's the first time we've ever seen that happen. But I have to agree with you today. Aiden Sampson, while yes, we didn't see a lot from him today, but the Diffusion Race Engineering driver just put on a silent masterclass, a true dark horse in this race. 8 positions gained. He didn't give up. He didn't surrender. And he gets himself 20 points to go home with. So I think driver of the day here, I think that's a very good nomination from you.
I think I definitely surprised you whatsoever.
It did surprise me, and mostly because we didn't spend too much time worrying about his position on track. So I guess he had sort of slipped into the back of my mind somewhat. Sorry to say that, Aiden, if you are watching the broadcast, but I think it was a bit of a surprise nomination. But at the end of the day, I think it's a very fair nomination. And
yeah, absolutely. But like you said, Green. But hats off to Green on his debut for CP Motorsports as he now hands the key back to Dean Vandersen for next time out for round 5 in Division 1. So we'll keep our eyes on that. But stay tuned as we are going to take a break from the commentary box as our drivers are getting ready for Division 2. The Division 2 cars are rolling out on track, getting their qualifying underway, and we are going to bring you all the action for the TCR Cup round 4 in Division 2 very shortly. So stay tuned, grab yourself some food, and sit back and enjoy the coverage in 10 minutes' time.
And welcome back. Apologies for that, the broadcast studio getting things a little bit wrong with the intro video there. But welcome back from our 10-minute break, and we're here now to do the Division 2 of the MotorMotion E-Series Trak Racer TCR Cup. And just a little word about our sponsors. Since 2008, Trak Racer have been designing and pioneering the best value, high-end gaming platforms and accessories. And their products are made from high-quality materials and offer unsurpassed durability. They are proudly sponsoring the MotorMotion E-Series TCR Cup. So please do go check out Trak Racer for all your DIY and sim racing needs. They are going to be online and in many countries, shipping all around the world. So feel free to check them out. And yeah, so we've had an incredible race at Division 1, but now it is time for Division 2 here at Catalunya. And I am very much looking forward to it because, as we know, well, there was a lot of action in the Division 1, but it's usually Division 2 that brings us even more action. So I'm very keen to see exactly what's going to be happening. And of course, you are in the commentary box here with myself, George Cooke, and Nick Pautasso. So Nick, thoughts on Division 1 and predictions on Division 2?
I'll tell you what, George, I'm trying to find a piece of paper that tells me a stewards report from Division 1, and I just can't seem to find it. I mean, I'm actually very surprised to maybe why there was no incident report put on there in that race, because, you know, unfortunately we did see a huge crash up into turn 1, but I guess the stewards notified that as a racing incident, and they just let play resume there. That was really baffling there, so very surprising on my end there, but regardless, that is Division 1 done and dusted. The Cooke driver in Andrew Scott taking out the race victory in Division 1. But we are here for Division 2, George. This is our favourite division. We sorely missed this one last time out at Laguna Seca, as we're about to bring in the race results from last time out at Laguna Seca. And it was... Well, actually, we don't have the race results, rather. We do only have the championship standings, which is still led by Mitchell Cullen in Bundaberg Red Racing, 167 points over his fellow rival in Matt Kuchar. These two cannot be separated whatsoever. Every race, they're always behind each other. They're always next to each other. And it shows in the championship standings with the one driver that's been showing some great positive signs is Mick Hill for Cooke driver development, the winner last time out at in round 2 at Brands Hatch. A very good strategy, getting himself up into 3rd place with Ben Churchill for 4th for Road Sick Racing, and then Ricky Rick in 5th for Track Stars Racing, and then Greg Hamilton in 6th place for Mad Turtle Racing, and then the privateer who's now turned into team member for Intercontinental Esports Racing, Chris and Nathaniel in 7th place. And then 8th is Mark Hasseldine in the Extreme Motorsports entry.
That's right. Then we've got Medal Miss for Juice Motorsport in 9th position, 54 points, followed by Karma Foster. She's one of our only female entrants in the TCR Cup this time, this season. So good to have her in here for Ned Racing. And then Sean Parker for Robbo Sport Racing, very close behind Karma Foster in 11th position. So looking to get himself up into the top 10. And then we've got Shane Harrison for CP Motorsports, followed by Hoey there, the privateer. And we've got Jason Bruin for ICE Esports. And then last but not least, it is Troy Britnell, who will be running the 888 car, I believe, for Strike Race Tech. Or maybe not. I'm not 100% sure, actually, now that I think about it. But just a quick note on those top 3, because as you said, they are very close in terms of the points. Mick Hill doing some great driving. And the result last time out, ironically, other than Nick Pierce, who took an impressive victory for the double points round at Laguna Seca, it was actually 2nd place to Mitch Collin. It was 3rd place to Matt Kuchar. And then it was 3rd place to Mick Hill. So all of these guys with first names beginning with M in the first 3 spots in the Drivers' Championship, also finishing 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, inseparable on track.
Oh my goodness, that's an interesting stat for you, ladies and gentlemen. Season 2023. If your first name starts with M in Division 2, you are going to be a race winner this time out and sitting in the top 3. So great, nice spotting there. But yeah, like as we said there, there's just those 3 drivers that have just been absolutely incredible there. So Colin, Kuchar, and Hill, and then you have the likes of Churchill, who's just flying a little bit under the radar there, and then don't count out Ricky Rick, who'll be his up into P5. But as we saw there, Sean Parker is back in the car after what was a great substitute drive by Nick Pearce, taking the win for RoboSport Racing. So Sean Parker will be looking to get that car back up to where it is at the pointy end of the track, and hopefully he can get himself a second victory for RoboSports Racing, but we'll find out very soon as we're about to go to the grid.
And just before we do, another interesting stat here between those three. Those three are from the drivers from the teams who are right at the top of the division as well, of the team's title, I should say. Other than Diffusion Race Engineering, who are in 5th at the moment, Cooke Driver Development and Bundaberg Racing fighting it out for the top spot at the moment between 1st, 2nd and 3rd, with CP Motorsports splitting the two. But yes, we are ready for our qualification results. Qualifying has finished, so let's jump over there now and check out the grid.
That is round 4 of the Spanish Grand Prix here. Division 1 has already done their racing, unfortunately with the titles. Thanks to our Kiwi correspondents, it's not giving us the accuracy. We have Sean Parker, who's actually taken pole position. So yet again, another pole position for RoboSport Racing in Division 2, sitting up into P1, and then we have Mick Hill in 2nd place. 3rd place is a very solid performance there by Ricky Rick, as we seem to have a few little technicalities there from our Kiwi correspondent there.
Yes, unfortunately, it looks like the videos that I have got for the qualification have been unfortunately switched up for the Division 1s. There we go. We are back with the 3rd and 4th row of the grid, so let's jump over to those now.
And then we have Tony Griffin, who is actually a substitute, and not only a substitute, a permanent replacement for Sean Middlemiss, who is actually unfortunately out due to illness. Won't be racing with us here at MotorMotion E-Series for the TCR Cup. So we do wish him a speedy recovery. And Juice Motorsports have brought in a great substitute driver in Tony Griffin, who put on a good performance last time in the Player 1 GT3 Championship in the Group A lobby. Currently sitting in 5th place, and then we have Ben Churchill in 6th place, and then we have Mitchell Collin, the championship leader, in 7th place, and with Charles Nathaniel in 8th place, the newly signed Charles Nathaniel for Intercontinental Esports. Then in 9th place we have Extreme Motorsports, Mark Hasseldine sitting in 9th place, and then Troy Bricknell, the last place in the championship, still occupies the top 10 in this championship. And then in 11th place, Karma Foster for Ned Racing. And then 12th place, we have Mark Karras, who's actually the late race substitute driver for Greg Hamilton. So it's actually a substitute driver there for Karras. I've never seen the name before, so very interested to see how he progresses for Mad Turtle Racing, and hopefully they'll be able to get that car some valuable points after what was not a great race for Robert Foster in Division 1. And then in 13th place, we have Stephen Harrison for CP Motorsports, and that marks the end of the grid here. So 13 drivers competing, as we had our 16 as our remaining 3 drivers not being able to get their cars onto the track, and unfortunately within due time they could not pass the scrutineering, and unfortunately have had to park their cars for tonight, and they'll be scoring not too many points tonight. So Division 2, 13 drivers tonight, but it's still going to be plenty of action here, George, as we always see with Division 2 driving.
Yeah, it's always an exciting race in Division 2, and yeah, a little bit of a reduced grid tonight, but that's okay. I'm sure the teams and drivers will make up for it on track with some spectacular action. And yes, another apology, unfortunately, for the mix-up in the qualifying results. This is what happens when you try and do video editing live, and the broadcast team have done a fantastic job in the past, and tonight maybe not quite 100%, unfortunately, but it is what it is, and we'll make sure we fix it up for next time. And yeah, I think we're pretty much ready, because the cars are on the grid, Nick, and they're ready to go, and the stewards are waving at me saying, hey, we're ready to go. So I think it's time to go over and get this race started. What do you think, Nick?
Absolutely. I think it's time to fix up Kiwi technology so we can get onto the track right now.
Let's do it. Let's get it going. The heat, as we discussed last time in Laguna Seca, not kind to the Kiwi broadcasting technology. So here we go, onto the grid for what is going to be a fantastic race here in Division 2. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and it is, oh, it's another false start there. What is it with second position here, Nick? It's another false start, and that's going to close up the grid, as we do see Chops get away very nicely at the start, and into turn 1 they go. Let's see how they go in Division 2.
Yeah, that's a poor start there by Mick Hill, getting it from second place, just like we saw with Robert Foster in Division 1. Second place is the cursed spot here tonight, but we also have Cooke going for the inside move on Ricky Rick. So Ricky Rick's making a few positions from third place, from fifth place to third place in car 28. So great start here for Ricky Rick, but we can see Sean Parker already has got himself a huge gap over Cooke. And Cooke, I guess this is very important in the championship fight here. He's well ahead of Mitchell Collin, who is sitting in sixth place. So Matt is doing a great job with Ricky Rick in 7. Tony Griffin, the late substitute driver and permanent driver for Juiced Motorsports, sitting in position 4. So great work for him. And then we have Charles Nathaniel, the newly signed Intercontinental Esports driver. As it says on the gamer tag, Isotubes NZ sitting up in 5th place. And then there is your championship leader in Mitchell Collin for Bundaberg Red Racing in 6th place. And then unfortunately the poor start that we saw for car 3 in Mick Hill sitting in 7th place, and Brits Lightning making up a few positions in position 8.
Yeah, so Troy is good start for him up into 8th position. Behind them we've got Neon. And we've got Old Sloth here. Unfortunately, I don't know the drivers' names as well in Division 2, so Nick, I'm sure, will correct me as we go through the race. But a clean start for everyone in Division 2 for the most part, except for Mick Hill, as you said, who had a bit of a problem off the grid. I think that P2 position must be a little bit cursed, Nick. But something about the nature of it. Maybe they can't see the go lights as clearly as the other cars, but there's definitely something going on there.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because we saw something very similar with Carlos Sainz in the 2023 Formula 1 Championship. He was on the soft tyres compared to Max Verstappen's medium tyres, and usually you could just say more or less the softer tyres should give you that extra bit of grip advantage off the start line. And unfortunately for him, didn't get the jump on Verstappen, and you can say it now with our TCR drivers. Their second position is just really plaguing them and really just jumping the start. And yeah, I think it might be just a miss. It might be a lapse of judgment, or it might be they might not be able to see the lights, or their engineers are just trying to call out when to go. I'm not too sure.
Maybe it's the deceptive nature of wanting to get a good start. You're in second position. You've got the inside line. You know that if you get into turn 1 ahead of position P1, you've got the lead of the race. So maybe they're just looking for that split-second advantage and just getting it a little bit wrong at the start. And it's so unfortunate, isn't it? It's a little bit cruel, actually, to put P2 in such a position, because they know they've got the inside line if they get it right. On board at the moment with Harrison, who's dropped, no, he's actually gained a couple of places now as he gets in front of Hazel there. So good job. And unfortunately, just a little note here for Karma Foster. She's not had a great start, unfortunately. For Ned Racing, she's slipped back from a little bit higher up in the grid. I think she's qualified 11th position, now back at the back of the grid. But out front, it is Chops and then Matt Kutcher. So good job by these two so far.
Yeah, and this is it's very crucial for Kutcher to be up there in second place. He needs to try and get past Sean Parker in first place, but Robert Sport Racing yet again in Division 2, getting that car right up the pointy end, and car 83 doing a spectacular job, running 2 races in a row in the lead of the TCR Cup. So hopefully for Sean Parker's sake, if he has a good strategy up his sleeve, he might be able to put on a miracle here. But we have to talk about Tony Griffin, as we saw a fastest lap there with a 14.5 there at the end of lap 3. But Tony Griffin for Juiced Motorsports, a fantastic start to his debut campaign in the TCR Cup, and he's ahead of Madrick, which Colin is actually trying to go for an inside move on Ricky Rick, and Colin moves up into 4th place. A nice executed move there going into turn 1 there. Ricky Rick is on the back foot and under pressure from Mick Hill, who started on P2, is now down to P6. He's got a lot of work to do. He's trying to go for an outside move on Ricky Rick into turn 4. It's very tricky negotiating this section of the track, where he's gone for an outside move, and he's done it very cleanly there. Well done to Mick Hill, making a fantastic move there. And Ricky Rick is coming under pressure from Brits Lightning and Tony Britnell. And unfortunately for him, that's a 2.5 second penalty there. So something catastrophic has happened for the Strike Race Tech driver.
Crikey, what a battle we've got here. It's another 6-way battle for position 3, and as you said, Tony Griffin out to a brilliant start for Juice Motorsports. That's the result that they're looking for, because their Division 1 finish was not ideal, certainly. So the Division 2 racer here in Tony Griffin, he is going to be putting on a bit of a show. And yes, a little correction there when I mentioned earlier, Old Sloth, that is Mark Karras. So yeah, the 2.5 second penalty for Troy Britnell will be served now. It's going to drop him behind a few of the drivers, and actually that's not just a few, is it?
That is harsh. That he's well outside the top 10. And yeah, 2.5 seconds. And what was a great position there for Troy Britnell is now out. He's probably into 12. He's like 13th place or something. That's
he's
absolutely
second to last.
horrible.
Yeah, 2.5 seconds as well.
Place.
They must have run wide a couple of times in that first few laps to pick up such a big penalty. I mean, we saw a few people pick up 2-second penalties. I don't quite know yet where they're picking up a 2-second penalty. Whether it's maybe some sort of consecutive corner issue.
I have a feeling it's definitely the chicane there. So as you can really take those chicanes very aggressively, but there is a fine margin on how you take that chicane, the lazy chicane going onto the final corner there. So I think they are triggering the penalty just before they get to the penalty burn zone on that final corner. And then they have to do a whole lap carrying that 2-second penalty. So unfortunately for Britnell, would have picked up a penalty coming into this section right now. So it's very fine margins there. You can bunny hop the curbs on the right hand side there. But then again, once you bunny hop those curves, it can send you in two directions. One, a little bit wide going onto the final corner, or actually just too much, and the worst consequence you get is a 2-second penalty.
Yeah, correct. It's a very fine balance, especially on the first few laps. Depending on your strategy, if you're going for the one stop on the softs, you're going to be looking to go a little bit slower and not risk those kinds of penalties. If you're going for a two-stopper, you want to be pushing as hard as possible, and that might be inducing a few mistakes from these drivers. And this little group of two at the top flying away at the moment, probably about 3 or 4 second gap back to the main pack. And Tony Griffin also starting to pull out a little bit of a gap on his own from Mitch Collin, who's just been overtaken as well. I just saw that. Good move there from this driver here, Mick Hill, sorry.
Mick Hill.
Yes, so as you said, inseparable on track. So here they are at it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mick Hill is just trying to do a recovery drive and a half. He's up back into 4th place after what was a disastrous start on the opening lap there going to turn 1. But now he's back up to 4th place. Another great move there going well before turn 5 there, as he actually made the move well clear over Mitch Collin. And he's up into 4th place. Mitch Collin back down to 5th place. And yeah, I'll be looking to see, and usually with this kind of races here, George, between the Me Cougar driver development team, they usually saying the same strategies, especially with the drivers, as we saw Andrew Scott pull off a really good winning strategy, running the one stop on the running half distance on 18 laps tires of soft tires, which are the compulsory tires here for our Division 2 boys as well as Division 1. So I'll be looking to see if Mick Hill runs a similar strategy tonight, if he goes for that one-stop strategy, just like his teammate did in Division 1.
We will definitely keep an eye on that, because the tyre life has turned out to be quite an important factor here. Not that it isn't at all times, but especially at a track like this, when the difference between a one-stop and a two-stop can be up to 20 or 30 seconds on track. If you get the two-stop right, I mean, in theory, it could work, but we saw in Division 1 that it just doesn't hold the speed over overall race time. So you're right, these Me Cougar driver development guys doing a lot of good practice and teamwork to optimize their strategy in both divisions, and just a real shame for Hill that he had such a bad start, because he could be out there with the drivers at the top, Sean Parker and Matt Kutcher, fighting it out for the first position. He's got a chance, because, he's hunting down Tony Griffin now, he is, and just looking at the tyre life on Tony Griffin, he's used up a bit more tyres than Hill already. So Hill doing what he needs to do, staying fast and managing the tyres, which is a very tricky thing to balance. Like, it's very impressive. I think having Andrew Scott there as your Division 1 driver in Me Cougar driver development, that is going to be a huge, huge advantage for Hill, not only in the championship but also in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just seeing there down in P7, Ricky Ricks just losing a few positions here down to P7 there. So he's got a whole cluster of cars right behind him, as we saw Churchill actually clear Rick, as we see a diving, almost reminiscent of what we saw in Division 1. A Mad Turtle racer Audi TT just diving into the corner there, but makes the move clean there. Did Karras in car 79, replacing Greg Hamilton in that Mad Total Racing entry, but very late move there for Karras, but a well executed move there. So well done to him. And but yeah, I was actually wondering if maybe Ricky Rick's actually on the medium tyres, just like his teammate in Tyler Lansdale, because he's dropping down the order pretty quickly. So I'll be interested to see if he's on the medium tyres. As we see ahead, we saw Griffin is actually going for is actually losing that position to Mick Hill as Mick Hill goes into turn 1, takes third place away from Tony Griffin, and there was the confirmation there. Yes, Madrick and Ricky Rick was on the medium side, so he's running the same strategy as his teammate in Division 1.
Yeah, great job there by Mick Hill. That's excellent. And of course, Mitch Collin. We should just call them by their last names. They're all beginning with M, their first names. But Colin now looking for a move, an optimistic move here into the harder corners. Around the outside he goes. Can he make it stick? No, he goes a little bit deep and just can't hold it. The Bundaberg red driver there, just unable to get past. He needs to stay on the back of Hill, as he is in the championship fight for I believe, first position with Hill. So that is the drivers that we need to keep an eye on. But Griffin here doing a fantastic job to hold these guys off. Oh, was that a little bit of contact there? No, I think they were just a little bit sideways, both of them.
On the
so
ragged
eager.
edge there.
Yeah, just pushing to the absolute limit. And yes, as you confirm, Madrick is on the medium strategy. He's our only medium runner in Division 2. Everyone else opting to go for the softs first. And 10 laps we're in at the moment. So I'm probably getting close to time to do a bit of a grid walk, but I think Madrick was also serving a bit of a penalty. That's what's allowed Matt Karras to get ahead of him on the pit straight. But as you can see, further down the order, the drivers are starting to use up a lot more of their tyres. So I suspect the guys down further in the field are going to be looking to do a bit of a two-stop strategy here. Shout out to Harrison, who's done very well to go from, I believe, 13th position all the way up now to 9th.
Yeah, absolutely. He made the move just there on Charles Nathaniel, who actually ran wide going in there. So he made that move well before he could get any contact or any damage from the ISA driver. But yeah, he's done a good job from 13th to 9th, so that's a very solid position there. But as I saw from the front runners there, especially with Mitch Collin, he's done very well on his tyre life there. So he's actually saved quite a lot of tyres on that front left especially. So he will definitely make it to lap 18, but I wonder if he actually might extend that. He might even be able to go to lap 19 because he's saved himself some good tyre wear. As Griffin's going for the inside line, I believe he's serving a half-second penalty there. Correct me if I'm wrong. There you go, half-second penalty there. He actually didn't serve it. So there you go. So he definitely must have cut one part of the chicane there to pick up the half-second. So he has to go for a full lap now, and it's just going to be an inevitable end for him and his chances of keeping P4 unless Mitch Collin or Churchill make a mistake on this last section of the track there. But I don't think with a championship leader like Mitchell Collin hardly makes any mistakes here. That's why he's our championship leader here in Division 2 for the Track Racer TCR Cup. But he is losing ground to Mick Hill, George, and he is actually losing a lot of time there. He's a few car lanes, like about 2 seconds between Disposable Hero and Mitch Collin.
That's right, and it is now time for us to go through the grid and give you a little update on tyres, our estimated and predicted strategies for all the drivers, and of course the current grid as it stands right now. So starting off with Sean Parker, he's used quite a bit of his tyres. He's under half of the life on the racing softs and just above 50% fuel. Behind him in second position, it is Matt Kuchar, whose tyres are absolutely gone. So he's going to be a bit worried, I think, because only 12 laps through, maybe a two-stopper for him, but looks like Sean might be able to get a one-stop strategy on the softs done if he can manage it from this point. But he's under a lot of pressure from the 426 car. Behind them, it is our championship leader, Mick Hill, for Cooke Driver Development. And on the racing soft tyres, looking very healthy. And I would also say his fuel amount looking very healthy as well. So the strategy starting to be executed. And look, he's actually pulling in. He's pulling out a gap for the cars behind him. And he's reeling in these top two guys. So, you know, somehow managing to save more tyres, more fuel, and be faster on track. This is an impressive drive. And look at his timing board as well. He's in the 14s consistently. Very smooth driving we're seeing here from Hill. So the number 3 car really putting on a performance at the moment.
Yeah, you see, and he just went purple in sector 2 there, so he won't be too far away for probably potentially getting the fastest lap away from Matt Kuchar with 1 minute 14.387. And yeah, he's saved a lot of tires. So compared to his tires, compared to the top two, he saved a huge chunk amount of tire wear on his Meek Cooke car number 3. So keep an eye on him towards the end of the stint here. He'll run longer, but he might be coming in for the charge there on Sean Parker and Matt Kuchar. And then we have Mitch Collin in 4th place, running a little bit low on tyre wear, just like his rival in Matt Kuchar. So Kuchar did not come into the pit lane, so he's going to try and go for one more lap or a couple more laps. But I have a feeling that he will be running a 2-stop strategy tonight, unfortunately. Then Tony Griffin, the late reserve driver for Juiced Motorsports, in 5th place, doing a great job for car 62. And then we have Ben Churchill for Road Sick Racing car 8, doing a great job in 6th place. And then we have Ricky Rick, the first of the medium runners, in 7th place, just as more or less like a similar position like his teammate in car 888 and Tyler Lansdale, P7 for Ricky Rick. And he's got himself a good margin over Stephen Harrison, who's doing a really good job there. So he's actually gained another position. So that's a very nice little drive there. That's a very credible drive there for Stephen Harrison. He's also on the soft tyres, but he'll be looking to come to the pit lane either within this lap or the next.
Correct, and then we move down the grid, and tyre life here for the ICE Esports driver, pretty low on tyres, they're doing good on fuel. It's interesting to see what the guys and girls I should say, are doing in terms of balancing their tyre life versus the amount of fuel that they are using on track. So fuel saving going on here for the ICE Esports driver, but Charles does look like he's not giving too many cares, I should say. I was thinking of another word about his tyres at the moment, so looking to push as much as possible. Moving back down the grid, we do have Hazel here, so Mark Hasseldine for Extreme Motorsports. Very low on the front left tyre and under 50% fuel, so he'll be looking to put some fuel in as well as get a fresh set of soft tyres probably in the next couple of laps. Behind them it is Troy Brittenell, doing a good job at the moment, though dropping to 11th position on the grid for Strike Racetech. Low tyres and just above half fuel. Then Karma Foster, who's actually done a really good job. This is a bit of a dark horse thing here with Karma. She is on about 50% fuel, but actually doing really well to manage those tyres. I do know that she's had some tyre struggles in the past in terms of managing, so she's choosing to go a lot slower. You can see her lap times averaging around 118s, but that will probably get her all the way to lap 19. Then she can switch, do a one-stop, get on fresh tyres and maybe push to the end, or she's trying to put on maybe 20 or 21 laps. As we do see Matt Kuchar come into the pits, and we've had Matt Karras, our first pit stopper. He's gone from the top 10, and he's now at the back of the grid because he's gone to the pits and chucked on a set of mediums. Very interesting.
So it looks like he's definitely going to the end of this race here. But as you did say, Matt Kuchar and Mitch Collin, they're both the championship contenders, the top 2 in the championship, with Collin leading Kuchar. But they're both into the pit lane. So on the end of lap 14, about to start lap 15. Oh, look at those tyres there. He was very fortunate enough to make it into the pit lane, was the Diffusion Race Engineering driver in car 426. And there we have Mitch Collin driving into the pit lane right now. So the 2 heated contenders in this championship in the pit lane, and actually not running a very strategic race here, you could say, because they are really struggling on tyre wear. And as we look up ahead there, so I do want to catch my eyes back on the front there. I do see Churchill up into 3rd place, in which I thought I was seeing Mick Hill up into 2nd place. So something happened to Mick Hill in 4th place.
Oh, he's picked up damage, Nick.
Oh no! So I wonder, that is an interesting spot to pick. Where would you pick up damage? It's very interesting to see what happened to Mick Hill there. We'll probably look back in the post-race replay of what happened to Mick Hill there, but that is costly. And that's going to cost you a lot of time. He's actually not coming into the pit lane. He's really committed to trying to make a one-stop work and then suffer the pain right now, as well as suffering pain in the pit lane to fix the damage up. As Churchill's actually going for a move on Griffin, going into turn 1 on lap 16 to 36. There are only about 21 laps to go. Makes the move cleanly there. It's car 8 on 62. Well done to Churchill making that move for 2nd place. But you can see Sean Parker running a very solid race there in 1st place. As you saw his rival in Kuchar come into the pit lane, but with really dead tyres was Kuchar, and it looks like Sean Parker has saved just a little bit extra, and that's why he's able to run that little bit longer.
That's right, and this is why we love Div 2 as well, because the Division 1 guys, when they execute a strategy, they, you know, I don't want to say that they're, you know, absolutely the better drivers. We've seen some very impressive drives from the guys in Div 2, but the consistency that the Div 1 drivers can show can really help to execute these longer running strategies where you need to save tires more, or where you're going to be running on lower grip tires. So sometimes that doesn't work out, and maybe in the case of Mikhail today, he's just not been able to manage it all the way and just gotten on the grass or the gravel somewhere. And yeah, actually, as you said, very difficult to find a barrier to go and crash into. There's lots of runoff area. That said, we did see a Division 1 driver go into the inside barrier of turn 1. So, you know, anything can happen out there on the racetrack, and Barrier is ready and waiting to pick you up if you do make a mistake. So it could have been an innocent one, but, you know, when you're running those kinds of tire lives, it can be very, very tricky. But yeah, that damage is going to hold him up in the pit lane as he needs to get it repaired, and he's running on low tires, and he needs to go at least another lap here. So that's going to hurt him. He's gone from running low 15s, high 14s to running 16s now. So he's a second slower because of that damage.
Yeah, and he lost 10 seconds on lap 14 compared to his lap 15 to lap 13 lap. And as we can see there as well, Ricky Rick, who is the first of the medium runners, sitting very nicely in 5th place there. So he'll be closing up to Mick Hill pretty shortly within the next lap or so. So it looks like maybe Ricky Rick's going to go for a very longer strategy, maybe try and extend that gap, maybe extend that stint, maybe allow around about lap 21, lap 22, potentially, and maybe go for a very short sprint on those soft tires. But you can see the track racer drivers, track stars racing drivers are doing a very good job and running a very alternate strategy there. So it worked for Lansdale, could have worked for Ricky Rick, only time will tell. We've only got about 20 laps to go as we see Mick Hill finally come into the pit lane, getting rid of those tires. He needs to serve the damage, fix the damage rather, but he's on lap 17 of 36, about to start lap 18. So this will be close, this will be tight when it comes to tire life at the end of it.
It will be indeed, and he'll need to make sure he doesn't make another mistake. We do see Troy Britnell come in as well, but his Div 1 teammate Andrew Scott, he also came in on lap 17, so this is technically half distance of the race. But after you pick up that damage, I mean, you're going to be spending at least another second, maybe 2 seconds in the pit just to get everything fixed up again. And of course, taking on some fuel as well. We do some beautiful shots from the pit lane today, with Troy Britnell also coming in. I did make a note here about Harrison, who's on 0 tires, has to pit still, but has done very well to manage his fuel. And I mean, look at how wide he was running through there. No grip on those tires whatsoever. He's actually beaten up the front right as well. So putting absolutely everything into the car and trying to get those lap times as low as possible. But he's up in 5th place provisionally at the moment. We do see Sean Parker and this is Ben Churchill, I believe, coming into the pits now.
Yeah, correct. So you've got the top 3 now running. They're all coming in on the lap at the end of lap 18, and then, like we saw in Division 1, a Track Stars racing driver in Lansdale leading the way, but now we also have Ricky Rick in Division 2 leading the way on those medium tires. So watch out for him at the back end of this, as we now see Stephen Harrison jump into the pit lane. So the drivers on those soft tires running that one-stop strategy, but we have to keep our eyes on Mitchell Collins. So Mitchell Collins coming through onto the pit straight. He's actually gone past them. So he's actually done an undercut strategy on everyone else. But it looks like he might definitely have to come to the pit lane. But I will say one thing. What I did notice in his pit stop sequence there, George, he didn't come in for fuel. So he actually just whacked on some tires and just forgot about the fuel and said, you know what, I'm just going to go full send in this stint. And then I'm just going to have to pay for a little bit more when it comes to my next stop, when it comes to my next pit stop.
Yeah, it is an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, he'll be pushing very, very hard now, Mitch Collin, but he's going to have to fight off Mick Hill, who's going to be on the one-stop only strategy, of course delayed a little bit by the damage that he had to repair. I do wonder if that was a mistake from Mitch Collin. When did he come into the pit? It was lap 14. No, he's definitely going for a 2-stop strategy in that case. Yeah. But if he could have just made it last another few laps, he could have made that work. But, you know, if you can drive fast enough, you're not saving too much. He's pushing in the 114s at the moment, mid-114s, which is very impressive pace. He's equal to the pace of our fastest lap owner at the moment. That is Matt Kutcher, a 14.387. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the fastest lap that we saw in Division 1 was a 13.7. So actually they're not that far off Division 1 pace here.
No, absolutely, and Mitch Collins doing a fantastic job getting that car right up the pointy end there. He's running some really consistent laps there. So that's two 1 minute 14.4s he's set in a row there. So very impressive laps there by Mitch Collins. And as you expect, you expect to see that on a very on a low fuel tank. That's what Mitch Collins got on his car. So with a low fuel tank and fresh tires, you'll be definitely expected to pull those laps in. But with Cooke's lap time, that was on a full tank of fuel, so that's very impressive by the Fusion Race engineering driver in car 426. But Chops and Sean Parker did come out ahead of Cooke, and actually Churchill's actually jumped Cooke in the pit lane, so he's done a fantastic job to jump in, and he's on the medium tires is Cooke. So very surprising strategy that we've got here. So very different strategy. So he's going to go to the end on medium tires while everyone else is on those soft tires ahead. He sees Sean Parker's, or he might not know, maybe his engineers just told him over the radio that Sean Parker is on the soft tires and he's saying he's running to the end, and Churchill is on the soft tires and he's running to the end as well. So I have a feeling that this might be a bit of a Ferrari strategy call here for the Fusion Race Engineering, putting on the slower tires on the second stint.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I'll go and deliver some face paint down to the Diffusion Race Engineering pit garage later in this race if this doesn't work out. But I think, with the place that Matt decided to pit, he could have gone onto the softs and been absolutely fine to the end of the race, especially considering his pace early on and the soft stint that he'd done. So very interesting call there for the Diffusion Race Engineering team. And I think, ironically, if Mad Rick knew that he had a medium running Matt Kutscher, who was, I remind everyone, in second position before he came into the pits, I think Mad Rick could be on for a top 3 finish now, thanks to this.
Oh yeah, it could be very close here because we know that Colin has to come into the pit lane. Absolutely, Churchill doesn't need to come in, and this will be a very good, handy points finishing position for Churchill if you can actually keep this coming through. But Madrick comes into the pit lane now, getting off those medium tires. So the battle pack here is coming through to sector 3, as we saw Rick come into the pit lane. So he's got to put in a fresh set of boots of soft tires and a bit of fuel going into his car there for the Track Stars racer driver. So we'll wait and see where he comes out of the exit of this pit lane. But we can see here Mick Hill really just trying to do a bit of a recovery drive and a half here, just with that damage and really falling down the order there, just well down the order, unfortunately for him. As we see Madrid come into the pit lane finally and changing those medium tires to soft tires, car 28. He's going to sit well behind Mick Hill, unfortunately. So as we see Griffin go very deep going into turn 1 there, opens up the door for Nathaniel to come through to almost take that position away from Griffin. And Madrick's actually come out of the pit lane now, still in P8 there, so he's got a good clear gap there. So he actually hasn't lost time to Karras, or he hasn't lost time to anyone. So he's well ahead of him on the soft tires. And 15 laps of sprint racing on these soft tires. Keep an eye on Keep an eye on him.
Absolutely, that was key for him to come out in front of Matt Karras there. If he found himself behind Matt, I think he would have found himself in a lot of trouble. Yes, he would have found a way past, but that can be tricky. And if you're in dirty air, you're using even more of your tires behind the car in front. So he's got clean air in front of him. And
look at the gap he's already put. Yeah. Look at the gap he's put on Karras there already. That's almost over a second clear over Karras, and he was right behind him going into turn 1. So that was very crucial. That was a very good pit stop there by the Track Stars Racing boys, and for Madrid to get out well ahead of him and keep that P8. So he's got clear air, he's got clear track. The boys are coming down into turn 1 right about now, and he's coming onto the start-finish straight. So he's got a long way to go. Does Ricky Rick to try and get himself back into that fighting position there. But we have Stephen Harrison doing a really good job here. So this has been a really good standout drive here by Stephen Harrison, as we called out earlier in the stints, earlier in the broadcast. About to make a move on Karras going into turn 1. Well executed there. If he doesn't go too deep, he'll be able to keep the inside line, and he does in car 41 up into 9th place. So well done to Stephen Harrison. So keep an eye on him as well. So I wouldn't doubt him getting himself a really good points finishing position tonight as well.
Correct, yeah. I mean, he's following behind Madrick now. He's got more pace than Karras, and despite being kind of left in the lurch, I guess, or left behind by Madrick here, But this is brilliant from Rick. I mean, the 28 car is just looking rapid now. He's got that clean air. Yes, he's about 2, maybe 3 corners. I think 3 corners is probably a bit more fair behind our potential race leaders, I should say. And the battle here is heating up massively. I think a little bit of a shout out here for Charles Nathaniel. He's going to have to pit again, sadly, so he's not really in this fight, but he's been doing, from Rick's point of view, a very good job holding up Mick Hill throughout the last few laps there, as he might not be able to hold him up anymore. No. Oh, well, let's see. He's got the inside line now. Oh, and there's contact between the two. Oh, dear. Not too much, though. Not significant damage from either, but that does allow Hill to get on through in the number 3 car. He needed to get that done. He knew he was getting holed up, and he's got ahead of him Griffin, who's having a bit of a fight now with Matt Cooke on the medium tyres.
Yeah, you've got to keep an eye on that as well, because Cooke is on those medium tyres. He runs wide as well, so you can just see the struggles that he's getting in his Diffusion Race Engineering Audi TT on those medium tyres. I mean, I would have been very respectful for him to jump on the medium tyres at the start of the race, but to put on the medium tyres to finish off, I'm just not too sure, to be honest. You know, I don't think it's the right call here for Diffusion Race Engineering, because you can see there, Mick Hill is right up on his rear wing there. He's not too far behind. He can go later on the brakes here, so I won't be surprised if we see a Mick Hill move down going into turn 1. As we try to find an onboard coverage with Mick Hill. Will he go for a move going into turn 1? You can see he's closing the gap. He's going to find a lot more grip on those soft tyres.
Oh, it's very wide for Matt Cooke.
There you go. So you could just say Cooke just get a little bit pressurized there from Mick Hill, so he drops down to 6th place. Unfortunately, this is a race that's not turning out for Matt Cooke. Unfortunately, down to 6th place on the medium tyres. So he's just going to try and hold on. He just needs to fight for pride, fight for some points, because it does look like he's going to make any positions, but he knows that there are a couple of drivers ahead of him that do need to pit, including himself. And unfortunately, for the battle between him and Cooke, between him and Colin, it'll be very tricky. It'll be actually, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see Colin running back on the rear wing of Cooke when he makes his pit stop at the end of the race.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. And speaking of pit stops for Colin, there he goes. He's into the pits now. And that will elevate Sean Parker back into the lead of this race. And we do have Neon. So Ben Churchill, who I don't think needs to, he doesn't need to pit again in this race. And it's a penalty. Stirred by who was that? No, that was a blue flag of Karma Foster, sorry. So, yeah, so I thought there was a battle going on for first position there. Turns out I was wrong. So that's in the commentary box. We don't make predictions. We make prophecies that turn out to be false. But nonetheless, Ben Churchill doing very, very well in this race. 2nd position for him, and he's only a corner behind Sean Parker. But this is going to be interesting, because the Karma Foster's blue flag traffic, she will provide a little bit of a blocker for some of these chaps who are coming through. So, for example, Matt Cooke on the medium tyre, he is going to want to leapfrog Karma Foster as fast as possible, as I think he's just been overtaken by Hill. There we go.
Yeah, so Hill's just lost the position to Cooke on the last lap, but then now Hill's actually retaken that 4th place away from Matt Cooke. So again, he's just going to find some clear air. So the 3 drivers not really having a clean race here tonight. He's just making a few mistakes that was probably compromised by his start at the start of the race. Unfortunately for him, getting the jump start, the false start penalty jump start on card number 3. So unfortunately for him, his race is just not going to plan. But he did run his stint out on a damaged car, and he's still sitting pretty in 4th place. So if he can hold on to this, and he can challenge Tony Griffin for a podium positioning, I think that'll be a very solid recovery drive there for Mick Hill.
Absolutely, and we do see Charles Nathaniel make a move into turn 1 on Matt Cooke. So Matt Cooke's day continues to get worse and worse and worse. I'm sure he's on the radio to his team, asking them what the heck happened. Probably quite the reminiscent of a Carlos Sainz message back to the pit lane, or a Charles Leclerc message back to the pit lane. So feeling sorry for him. I'll definitely get the clown face paint out and deliver that down to Diffusion Race Engineering, not to bag on them too much, of course, because they are a great racing team with great drivers, but that was just not the call. With 14 laps on the mediums, no, that's just not the call. And sadly for Matt, that's taken him from what was potentially a podium position, second position. He was right behind Sean Parker at the start, down into 6, and he could be in danger of getting overtaken by Rick as well in the 28 car.
Yeah, absolutely, and he was right there, like you called it. He was right there with Sean Parker, and then all of a sudden, maybe Diffusion just thought maybe the strategy on the mediums would have worked because they would have seen Rick's pace on those medium tires. Maybe saying that he's found a bit more grip coming into the latter stages of the race there. Maybe the boys up ahead on those soft tires will run out of tires, and they will run out of tires towards the end of the race there. So they're praying that the soft tires run out on these drivers, especially with the Meat Cougar driver in Mick Hill and Tony Griffin. So, and with Charles Nathaniel, who I feel will have to come into the pit lane because his tires are more or less shot on that left-hand side. And like you said, he's not far behind is Rick, and even Harrison right behind him as well. So Harrison is going through the turn 1 right now, and Mitch Collin in 11th place here. So the two-stopper in Mitch Collin's not working. Oh, I thought like almost made contact there with Hasseldean there. I think that you could just see a little bit of puff of blue smoke coming from the rear, coming from the front tires of Mitch Collin, but he did make the move clean. He's up into 10th place, and look at that. You could just see where he is, and look at where Sean Parker is going onto the final corner, or about to approach the final corner right now.
That's right.
That is a huge. That is a huge margin that you do not want to give, and you are a championship leader, and you don't want to be giving that time away whatsoever.
Correct, yeah. The two-stop and the one-stop is going to be the glue, or the unsticking of the glue between these two drivers, Mitchell Collin and Mitch Hill. So, Michael Hill, I should say. But as you can see, so this is the interesting thing about this strategy, right? What I've been noticing is that these guys on the two-stop don't seem like it's a driving style thing at the end of the day. When you push harder on these kinds of cars, which don't have a lot of aero, by the way, you're pushing hard and you're getting maybe into the low 14s. The guys who are not pushing, who are saving tires, are still doing high 14s and 15s. Over the course of a 36-lap race, you are probably saving about 18 seconds, which is about 12 seconds short of a pit stop, which is why these guys on the one stop are looking fast, saving their tires, and able to stay ahead after their one stop. So that is why the two-stop strategy here is not working, because you are essentially losing 12 seconds on track and not really gaining anything from it. If you were saving a second a lap here from the time difference between saving tires on the softs and pushing on the soft tires, then it would be worth it. But the pit straight here, you know, you're at maximum speed. You know, we can see down there doing upwards of 230 kilometers an hour by the end of the straight. You lose so much time when you come into the pits that, you know, as I said before, 12 seconds, it's just not worth it on track. And hopefully we do still have Nick there in the commentary box. I think his microphone might have just disconnected for one reason or another. There we go. Nick is back.
There we go. Yeah, no, but I was definitely, like, it's a very interesting point that you put out there. Like, the pit lane loss, like we saw in Division 1, is pretty big here. As we see Mick Hill trying to go for an outside move on Tony Griffin, the substitute driver, permanent driver for Juice Motorsport, getting overtaken by Mick Hill, who's actually coming back through to get P3 away from Tony Griffin. He's going to be later on the brakes, so he's going to hold it around the outside. Oh. Are they going to give each other some spacing room? They do. And Griffin still holds on to P3, so some great racing here between Juice Motorsports and me, Cougar Driver Development, in Griffin and Hill. But like you're saying there, you could definitely see the two-stop, it just doesn't work. And I just wonder if these drivers do get data, they do get like practice race data before the actual race begins about the pit lane loss. As you see, Griffin cut that corner, as he cut the chicane, I did see him cut that chicane massively. And he unfortunately deserves a 1-second penalty for his cause there. And yeah, I don't know, maybe they just didn't analyze the data that the pit lane loss was going to be that huge around this track. And maybe with Diffusion Race Engineering thinking, well, we might as well run on the medium tires because we know everyone's going to stay in the pit lane for longer because they have to swap from soft to softs to softs again.
Correct.
So I'm not too sure, because, you know, he's sitting up nicely in P5, but we just need to know where Mitch Collin is on the racetrack, because he's got the freshest tyres off the lot.
let's go and find Mitch Collin now. He's gained a couple of places already, so overtaking that's Isa Tube, that's Charles Nathaniel, and also overtaking Hasseldine. So he's making some progress, but I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough at the end of the day. I do wonder as well, I think you make a good point there, it's because we don't really know what the decision-making process is like for some of these teams and drivers, whether they have done enough to gather the data about what's happening on track. And I feel like this could be a little bit of carryover from previous rounds. We've had Laguna Seca and Brands Hatch in the previous couple of rounds, and the pit stops on those are significantly shorter than here at Catalunya.
Well, Brands Hatch doesn't exist.
No,
You
no,
just
that's
jump
right,
in the
yeah.
pit lane.
Yeah, you can just toss some tires out, and 10 seconds you're out and you're good to go. So you're right. It's there might as well not be a pit lane there. So I don't know. Maybe it's a bit of carryover for that, where they're expecting more stops to be faster overall. I can understand why people would think that, but no. At the end of the day, the thing that determines pit loss is not necessarily the position of the pit lane. It's not necessarily the exit. It's actually how long the pit straight is. Like, for example, a tricky one is Spa, for example. This is the one that I always come back to. It's essentially a double pit lane. You've got the main pit straight, and then you've got the second straight after it. And if you're in the 24-hour layout, you've got to traverse all of that at pit lane speed. So you've got to bear in mind that... Oh, that's a great move there.
Almost made the move there, did Rick on Cooke. You can definitely see the two tyre compound differences between the two, the mediums versus the soft runners. And you have to also remember, Rick has got the freshest tyres of the lot. Well, except for Mitch Collin, he's got some fresh tyres on that one-stop strategy. But yeah, but like you said, I do agree. Like I know to your point there with Spa pit stop, it's really, really long here. Wow, the speed difference between these two is absolutely incredible. I couldn't believe that, how much speed Rick could get in there. I can't even get my point across. We can't even get our point across about the pit lane loss. We're just so intense on this battle pack between Cooke and Madrick. Is he going to hold it around the outside? He's going to go for a switchback move, or it's a little bit too unfortunate there, just a bit too late on the apex there. But look at his tyres as well. He's got 4 more laps to go on these medium tyres, and he's already used them. And this is very interesting because we did see with Ricky Rick, he did go 21 laps on those soft tyres, and with the pit strategy that I will say that Cooke is running, he's running on 20 laps, not even 20 laps on these tyres here, George. So 20 laps and the tyres are gone compared to Rick's tyres, which were nothing.
Yeah, I wonder if this is why they decided on the medium tyre, because he's obviously just using up a lot more tyres than they were expecting, and they thought, well, look, we're either going to have to two-stop and lose that 12 to 15 seconds, which would put us even further down the grid. They'd be running in 10th or 11th spot potentially with a second pit stop. So instead, let's try and run a bit longer because the tyre life is just not lasting the way that they've set up the car, or just the particular niggles in the way that Cooke is driving at Catalunya today. It's hard to tell what that is, but I think that's probably why, because, yeah, there's no other reason to see mediums that dead. I mean, for example, Tyler did very, very good on his tyres, mediums. They were about 30% or something done by the end of his 22-lap stint. And I think the same for, who was our other medium runner here? It was Rick, that's right, it was Rick. So he also did quite well on his tyres overall. Yeah.
And the tyre life that the Trak Stars Racing boys have on those mediums compared to what Cooke is trying to do on his medium tyres is just incomparable. And the two boys are just really managed that medium tyres perfectly. But look at Griffo's tyres. He's only got 2 laps to go, and Madrick's not too far behind. He's about to approach the long right-hander before the lazy chicane here. Griffin's about to approach. He's on the lazy chicane right now. And there we can see there's a red, black and white Trak Stars racer in Madrick. He's not. I don't think he's going to be able to close in. It's a very similar situation that we saw in Division 1, where one of the drivers was really running on dead tires at the end there. And Madrick is not too far away, but I just don't think it's going to be enough for his end, unfortunately. So
I don't think so. I mean, look, the gap is probably something like 8 or 9 seconds now, and Yes, there is a difference in lap time. So we've got 116's average being put in by Rick here. It's just not quick enough. 117's, 118's being put in by Griffo, but he's going to hold on, I think. I think he's going to get this 4th position, but ahead, and we do have Hill here. Will consolidate. He was in 2nd place in the qualifying. So to get 3rd place here, considering the crash that he's had, the false start that he missed, I think that's a pretty good drive overall, and staying in the 15s here towards the end. It's going to be close for him with his tyres and fuel, but he's done a very, very good job. But standout right now is Ben Churchill. What a race he's had.
I was going to say, it just came out of nowhere after that qualifying and just all of a sudden just shocks through the field, bringing Road Sick Racing up towards the pointing end of this championship. But you can see the top 3 on the pit straight for the final time. It is Sean Parker for RoboSport Racing, who's looking to go 2 from 2 for RoboSport Racing in Division 2, with Nick Pearce winning the last round at Laguna Seca, and potentially now the main runner in Sean Parker taking victory in round 4 of the TCR Cup as they're negotiating turn 4, which is normally known as the famous turn 9 in Formula 1 terms. But here in TCR Cup, we are running the short layout, the national layout of the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. And for the final time, it is going to be a RoboSport racer driver, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes with this chicane here, which is, technically, I would say more or less impossible, unless he really cuts it and takes an ambitious move there. But I don't think he's going in for a fastest lap on this last lap here, George. As he comes through, coming towards the lazy chicane for the final time, there's going to be another win for RoboSport Racing in Car 83. Not for Nick Pearce, but it's going to be Sean Parker around the final corner, who's going to greet the checkered flag, and it's 2 for 2 for RoboSport Racing. So congratulations to the team and Sean Parker for taking Division 2 victory. Ben Churchill getting P2, a fantastic drive for him. A brilliant recovery drive by Mick Hill as well to get his car up into B3. What could have been for Mick Hill if he got his car not damaged or jump started there? Tony Griffin, after replacing Middle Miss, just does a fantastic job for Juiced Motorsports in 4th place, Madrick in 5th place, and then we have Mitch Collin, who just gets ahead of his rival in Matt Kutscher. You can't separate these two whatsoever. Those medium tyres are absolutely shot, so he lost out on the last lap, did Matt Kutscher. Troy Britnell in 8th place, and then we had Nathaniel in 9th place. But
That's
man,
right,
what a race for Shops.
Yeah, we've got a bit to digest, I believe, as we'll go to the results screen now and run through the grid. And Division 2, as always, does not disappoint. Not to say Division 1 isn't exciting as well, but crikey, Division 2 with a mix of strategies. Once again, we saw all 3 strategies being run. The one-stop on softs, the one-stop with mediums and softs. We even saw a one-stop with softs and then a short stint on mediums, as well as, of course, the 2-stopper, which unfortunately has just not worked out today. But I think at the end of the day, another great race for Division 2, and Catalunya has been brilliant here for the TCR Cup. So, your race results after 36 laps for Division 2, and I just do note as well that the scorecard at the top does say Division 1, but these are all the names that we need here correctly for Division 2, so we will take a little look at the broadcasting gear and assets provided by our counterparts in the MotorMotion E-Series office, and make sure these are all up to date for next time. But nonetheless, Sean Parker, without further ado, takes first position here at Catalunya for RoboSport Racing. What a brilliant drive from him, consistent all the way through, executed the strategy to perfection, stayed in clean air the whole way through, and 47 points for him and his team. That is a brilliant, brilliant job. But I think a standout here, Nick, and we will talk about this later as we run through the whole grid. Ben Churchill for Road Sick Racing, 40 points. Excellent, excellent job. And I think that's going to really help them in the team championship as well.
Yeah, that just absolutely came out of nowhere for Churchill. So big congratulations to Road Sick Racing for delivering a great car and for Churchill here in Division 2 after he missed out last time. Oh, actually, no, he didn't miss out last time. He actually he was still running last time, but it just didn't have a really great result at Laguna Seca. And then also as well, Mick Hill finishing a recovery drive and a half here for Mick Hill. So big congratulations to him to finish up into P3. But you see his name in P3, you see the pace that he had. Could he have potentially won the race tonight?
Oh, well, it's entirely possible. I think if he had a good start, then yes. I think quite simply, yes. He had a good strategy. We know the Cooke driver development team has done a lot of hard work in the simulator and out on track, gathering the right data. Actually, remind me, what was Sean Parker's strategy today? Was it a one-stop softs as well, was it?
The one-stop strategy, yeah.
Yeah, so both those teams running the optimal strategy here, as determined by our results. So I think he could have been in for a win there. It would have been a bit of a fight with Sean Parker, but it would have been a fight to see who saved as much tyres. Probably something similar to what we saw between Green and Scott in Division 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And then running down the rest of the group, we have Tony Griffin doing a great job on his debut here in the TCR Cup in 4th place. Ricky Rick running that strategy very nicely, just like his teammate from mediums to softs in 5th place. Mitch Collin just getting ahead of his championship rival in Matt Kuchar in 6th place, and then Kuchar 7th. Troy Britnell, a nice performance for him to be inside the top 8 on 16 points. Then Stephen Harrison for CP Motorsports from 13th to 9th. A great drive for him, could be happy with that in 9th place. And then Charles Nathaniel for ISA Esports in 10th. Then just outside is Mark Hasseldine in 11th. And then Mark Karras, you could have to give him an honourable mention for stepping in for Greg Hamilton, getting that car into 12th place. Karma Foster, unfortunately, down in 13th and last place, with Hoey, unfortunately, not making the start of this race tonight.
That's right. And overall, a very, very solid race from everyone on the grid. And this is going to shake things up in the Drivers' Championship in Division 2, because Colin, yes, he finished in front of Kuchar. That's excellent. That's going to make a big difference. So obviously 1 and 2 in the driver standings for them. But Mick Hill, this could be the start of what could be a bit of a comeback drive in the Drivers' Championship for Division 2 for him, because that 35 points is 15 extra points over Mitch Collin. Well, we'll see. But we do have the updated results. So let's go over to that screen now and check out where things are at in the Drivers' Championship as it stands after Catalunya.
So Colin actually still leads the way ahead of Kuchar, but you can see there in 3rd place, Mick Hill gaining a lot of points, and those points have helped him so much that he's only 10 points behind Matt Kuchar. So the 3 M's up in the top 3 are working very well together to pull themselves away from the rest of the field, with Ben Churchill getting himself a great result last time in this round here at Catalunya, propelling himself up into 4th place with 131 points. And then Ricky Rick hitting the triple figures in 100 points. And then right behind, Shaw Parker taking that victory, gets him into 90 points. And you could say here, more or less, it's very close. It's a very close championship between the rest of the grid, between 7th all the way down to, you can even say, down to 14th place with Troy Britnell. It's very close, only 27 points between 7th and 14th, and that is going to be a very spicy finish to this championship as well.
That's right, and of course 3 races left after Catalunya. We're back to the Americas next week, and we'll talk about that shortly, but yeah, after that, we've got Charles Nathaniel, of course, in 7th position, 67 points. Hasseldine, 65 points in 8th. Then we've got Greg Hamilton for Mad Turtle Racing at 60 points. Harrison, 57 points. Karma Foster, who's had a bit of a bad race today, but 52 points for her, 11th in the championship. Then Griffin for Juiced Motorsport. Actually putting on a good show for us today, but dropping down the grid from what was a very good start, 50 points. And then Hoey on 42 points, our privateer. Then Troy Britnell for Strike Race Tech on 40 points, followed by our debutant here for, privateering here, Karras on 9 points in 15th position. So, I would like to invite everyone in the grandstand, everyone in chat, please do tell us who your driver of the day is, and we will begin these discussions momentarily, and then we'll talk to you guys about what's coming up in a couple of weeks for round 5 of the Trak Race TCR Cup. But as I'm going to be cheeky here, Nick, I'm going to say, mate, over to you for driver of the day once again.
you always leave it to me when it comes to driver of the day. I can't let it go past it. It's just Churchill. Absolutely. No, came from absolutely out of nowhere, pulled off a great strategy and drove a really clean race to get himself up into P2, was contending against Sean Parker, which for me was a very close second as well. Just drove a solid race, got the jump at the start. But I think Churchill, with a great performance for him and the points that he needs to propel himself to get back into this championship fight and battle for P2 because he's not far behind Kutscher as well. Only 22 points behind Kutscher. So anything can happen in these next 3 rounds in the TCR in this championship. So for my drive of the day, I'm going to give it to Ben Churchill for Road Sick Racing.
That's absolutely right, and no surprise there. Ben Churchill, definitely driver of the day. What an absolute brilliant drive, and that will help out his team, Road Sick Racing, in the overall driver teams championship, which we're going to go and take a look at the final results for ending out round 4 for the overall team's title. So things are getting heated up between positions 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, only separated by 20 points. But for position 1 right now, me, Cooke driver development, with Ando winning all the races so far in the first 4 rounds, and great performances from Mick Hill in Division 2. 380 points for them. What a lead.
Absolutely dominant. Absolutely dominant. And then we saw it there as well. Position 2, Track Stars Racing coming from 5th place down up and now shooting themselves up into 2nd place after what was some great strategy calls there by Lansdell and Ricky Rick running on those medium tyres. CP Motorsports drops down the order into 3rd place, loses a position, but Road Sick Racing as well with that great performance there by both Mackenzie and Churchill. 231 points. And yeah, like you said, anything can happen between those 5 teams there. RoboSport right behind in 7th place on 195.5, so don't really count them away, as well as Mad Turtle Racing as well. They're not far behind them as well. So in 8th place, Juiced Motorsports with Griffin now taking the helm of Middle Miss's seat in 9th place, and then Strike Race Tech in 10th, ICER Esports, Ned Racing, and Extreme Motorsports in 11th, 12th, and 13th place.
Wow, yeah. So the team's title heating up, and we do have 3 rounds left in the first season of the Audi TT TCR Cup, sponsored by Trak Racer here for MotorMotion E-Series, and we are going on the 20th of June, 2023, yes, this year, for 31 laps with Racing Hard Tires as the mandatory tire at Road Atlanta. So back to the United States we go for the next round. The weather is to be announced because obviously we don't know exactly what's going to be happening in 2 weeks there. But I'm excited for that because these cars around Road Atlanta, we've got some interesting mix of high-speed areas and very tight, very fast corners. So the tire life is going to be very interesting at Road Atlanta. So do look forward to that on the 20th of June. But for all of those in the grandstand right now, please do make sure that you give us a like and subscribe here at the MotorMotion E-Series YouTube channel. Broadcasting every week, coming to you live with some fantastic racing on track and stuff happening obviously in the GT3 Championship as well as the TCR Cup. So I think that's a big thank you to not only our MotorMotion E-Series broadcast team in the background, but of course, and a pleasure bringing you the live commentary today, myself, George Cooke, and Nick Pautasso. So Nick, any final thoughts on Division 1 and Division 2 today? I think it's been a brilliant race here at Catalunya. It's put the drivers and teams to the test. We've seen 4 distinct strategies being executed overall, and that's been fantastic for us here and also down in the pit lane.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Catalunya's always been a track where it's been very hard for overtaking because there's more or less a single file racing around this track unless you get yourself a really good exit coming out of that, going onto the pit straight. So it's really hard to be making overtakes, but all of our drivers here tonight have done a fantastic job. A couple of questionable moves and risk taking there for some of the drivers, but we'll keep that to ourselves. But we've done some really awesome racing here in the track race at TCR Cup. Been some awesome, fantastic racing. Everyone's done well to keep their cars clean, keep their cars circulating around the track. And your winners for Division 1, Andrew Scott for me, Cougar, driver development, and Sean Parker for RoboSport Racing, taking line honours here and the victory here at Catalunya, which has been an awesome spectacle here at MotorMotion E-Series. Like and subscribe, share this video around with your friends, tell your neighbours, tell everyone that we are MotorMotion E-Series and we are here to take over the sim racing world. So thank you for joining us here for the track race at TCR Cup, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time, but also tune in for the Player 1 GT3 Championship next week on Tuesday night, where we're bringing you all the action for I believe it's round 8 of this championship, I believe.
Yes,
from memory.
I think that's correct. We'll obviously we'll get all that sorted out before next Tuesday. But yes, Nick, a pleasure as always being in the commentary box for you all. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for your comments in chat. Take care, stay safe. We will see you next time. And from the commentary box here at Catalunya, we will see you next time. Good night, good evening, and goodbye.